didn't even look close. Like it, it looked more like Machine Gun Kelly. I think it was like 2 hour flight, but
That's
still,
not too
hey,
bad.
you know,
Uh,
staring at the seat in front of you. You know,
yeah.
want a nap? No,
Nope.
oh,
Nah,
committed.
just staring at whatever's in front of that seat. All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Banter on the Rocks. We got Tim, John, myself here, and another exciting episode. But before we get started, first order of business, as always, is to discuss our brand ambassadorships. So we are brand ambassadors for Find the Good brand. Find the Good is focused on finding the good and building a community of people who want to help find the good. For all purchases, Find the Good gives back 10% to Mental Health of America organization. So when you order and use our promo code BANTER805, you will receive 10% off your purchase. So that's 10% for you, 10% back to mental health. So remember, use the code BANTER805 for 10% off. The mission for Find the Good is simple. Finding the good is here to get you through the bad days, the breakups, the ups and downs, and whatever else stands between you and a smile on your face. And today is Tuesday, August 19th. Not our normal recording day. There's been some traveling, enjoying the last few days of summer, for you, Tim, before the kiddos go back to school.
Nope.
Um, I'll be traveling this coming weekend, so might have to record Tuesday. I'll see if I get back into town on Monday at a good time. But yeah, so we're recording Tuesday, but still we're gonna have the episode coming out this week. We're not here to miss a day. We want to get this content. There's a lot of stuff to always talk about, and we want to enjoy talking about it, bantering with you guys as well. So on today's show, we're gonna discuss our fantasy corner. So we'll go over our top 10 wide receivers. We'll do our banter takes as always. We have a reality TV show take to talk about a little bit as well, and much, much more that just comes into our mind during the show. And as always, what we always start off with first on our show is our banter drinks of the week. So these are always drinks that we make. Sometimes they're pretty basic, sometimes we get creative, sometimes we go into tangents and tell stories, but this week, I am sticking to something very basic. I did a Jack and Coke. It's been a busy week. It's been hot. Heat waves coming in here in Cali, so it's been hot. Jack and Coke right now is just refreshing to me, so went with the Jack and Coke.
There you go. Good choice. Good choice. I went with a what did I do today? I did some more rum with pineapple juice today.
Okay, that's a good one.
Again, refreshing. I'm on the
Yeah,
same bandwagon as you.
yeah.
It's hot. Even though I was in Arizona this past week, it was mild out there. It was probably low hundreds, which is,
Oh, okay.
we'll take it. We'll take it. Well, if that beats 112, 115.
Yeah.
So, that was, it's certainly a lot cooler than that was. Today, I think it got into like 70s, maybe 80. But
Yeah.
over here it's a different type of heat, but this is refreshing and much needed, especially after, a big travel day with two young kids.
Yep.
Can be a lot going through
Yeah.
airport security, all that fun stuff. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I saw your
yeah,
TikTok. You going raw
yeah,
dog in the flight. No
yeah,
headphones.
that's right. Raw dog and
Focus.
yeah, the determination and commitment. It's always good to show the kiddos,
Hmm.
like this is what it takes,
Yeah.
to raw dog a flight. Granted, I think it was like 2 hour flight, but
That's
still,
not too
hey,
bad.
you know,
Uh,
staring at the seat in front of you, you know,
yeah.
want a nap? No,
Nope.
oh,
Nah,
committed.
just staring at whatever's in front of that seat. Did it have
That's
little
right.
TV on the seat?
Not even, not
No.
even.
Oh, oh,
I
that's
literally
a
stared
hardcore
at
raw dog.
hardcore raw dog. I was staring at, the water evacuation notes for emergency landings, and we're going over pure land from Cali to
Yeah.
AZ. So,
Yeah.
it wasn't even relevant for the flight, but
Nah.
you know, full steam ahead. And, my daughter right next to me was trying to psyched me out a bit.
I saw
She was,
that. She was
yeah,
taunting you. I felt like at times like, oh,
yeah, trying to be like, huh, let me shove this up my nose and
yeah,
let's see if it distracts you. No,
no,
we may or may not have cut some parts out where I
yeah,
was dying of laughter, but the 20, 30 seconds was there.
yeah. No, for sure. It was good, good clip. Yeah, kudos to you for doing it because that's a tough one. Um,
Fun times, fun
yeah.
times.
But yeah, so those are our drinks, and we'll go into our banter takes. And as always, we also go live on TikTok, so we're setting that up right now. Um, if you join us, live, comment, share your banter with our takes live in the moment. And if you're not joining us live, just when you watch this, we appreciate it. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button, leave your comments, your thoughts on our takes. Because like I say, our banter takes, we drop them each week. They're hot takes. We haven't seen these before. Tim sends me his takes that I defend. I send him the ones he's gonna defend and follow through. And we let chaos unfold at times. Um, So, and some of them are outrageous. I will say that. Some of them are very accurate, but, one of the things this always does is really creates that conversation. And I will also say sometimes it stirs the pot quite a bit, which we don't mind as well. Um,
No, it's always good. Got to stir the
yeah,
pot a bit. It's
yeah.
important. New phone.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
bear with me a second. Fun story as I'm looking for this. We were out shopping over there in Arizona. Phone was already kind of jacked, not gonna
Yeah.
lie. Blessing in disguise. My daughter fumbles the phone. I was letting her use for a second, and the whole screen decided to go green after that. So couldn't really use it. I made an appointment over there, picked up a new phone at a local, shout out T-Mobile. Thank you so much for
Nice.
picking me up on the road and worked out well. Transferred everything over. They do
Uh,
make the phone transferring process a lot easier now.
yeah.
They kind of talk to each other and it's not like how it was before where had to go get a new phone and you felt like you were
Yeah.
screwed. So, oh, yeah. Bear
Yeah.
with me. Looks like
No.
I'm here now, but looks
Okay.
like I'm eagle eye, eyes from above, UAV on me, with that angle.
New,
You're gonna see Josh.
new angle, new angle. We're always
Oh,
trying
out
something
there,
new.
out there, out there.
So yeah. So all right. So we're on live as always, like we mentioned, join us on Mondays, normal recording days. Every now and then we will record on Tuesday depending on our schedules. But my first take, the NFL is back at it again. They're always back at it again. And this time with favoring the Chiefs. Rashid Rice possible suspension has been delayed until after September 30th. Yeah, it's something we both saw about the Chiefs, and we talked about it a little bit just in our, text message and TikTok where we saw the video. Chiefs are getting a break here because, Rashid Rice, great player, had his little run-in with the law and, you know, got in trouble, was found guilty, so, he is gonna face some consequences, but, you know, them delaying the most possible suspension of 4 games to later, it's sort of I like to call it favoritism. You know, if you look at the 4 games they're playing week 1 through 4, because September 30th, I think that's the day. Yeah, September 30th, that's his court date. Week 1, the Chargers. Week 2, Philly. Week 3, New York. That's a simple one. Week 4, the Ravens. So without your top wide receiver, and people could say like, "Oh, we have Hollywood Brown." Hollywood Brown is trash. Sorry to say that. Hollywood Brown is trash. I've been jumping from team to team. He's not that great. He's a speedster, but not that guy to win you a game like the way Rashee Rice can. And then the games after that, like I say, Jacksonville, easy win without Rashee Rice. Detroit might be the only challenge they lose. Then they got Las Vegas. I'm still trying to figure out if Las Vegas is my hot take for the year. But that one
Hmm.
could be difficult, but also pretty easy. And then Washington still could be a difficult game, but also it's Washington. I think we'll talk a little bit about them more. The scary Terry situation, now the
Hmm.
Brian Robinson situation. Trying to find a trade. I don't know
Hmm.
what they're doing in Washington, but like I say, their toughest opponents in the first 4 weeks. They're getting that help from the league by not doing this, court hearing until September 30th. So they're back at it again, finding ways to help them win. They're still the team that the NFL wants to win. Um, Rumor has it Taylor Swift is performing at the Super Bowl. Um,
Hmm.
so, you know, and I think she only does it under one condition, and that's her Travi making it to the Super Bowl. So
Hey
NFL's
yo,
gonna do everything they have to do.
halftime proposal? Question mark?
Maybe, question mark.
Maybe.
We'll
Yeah.
throw it
She
out there again.
Yeah, what that could be a good run it back right there.
Yeah.
And she debuted on New Heights podcast this past week
Yep.
as well. That was
Mm-hmm.
pretty big news, and it seems like they are a very happy couple, which is great.
Yeah.
Glad to see him like that. But yeah, going to this Rashid Rice, scenario,
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of compare it to somebody like Jordan Addison,
Mm-hmm.
who was suspended much quicker, had a
Yeah.
much quicker time frame for I think arguably a less severe
Yeah.
incident, I believe. And then for them to keep delaying this, I mean, this happened, what,
Last
early
year.
2024? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was, early on. And, for them to be dragging their feet on this, take
Mm-hmm.
it, past week 4, I haven't really seen any clear, reason as to why,
Mm-hmm.
um, they've taken this long. And, you can only think that at that point it's going to be like, they're hoping it's going to be swept under the rug and maybe be a lesser suspension at that point. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it just seems like there's always something that happens that seems like
Mm-hmm.
it's somehow favoriting the Chiefs. And
Yep.
with this, yeah, you'd like to give the benefit of the doubt of like, oh, if it was another team, it would be the same
Mm-hmm.
scenario, but it's like, no, you can compare that Jordan Addison incident to this. So it's a bummer.
Yeah.
I guess props for Chiefs fans, props for
Mm-hmm.
Rashid Rice gets to go out there and play.
Yeah.
Good for him. Let's see what happens. But thank you for bringing up the matchups within those first 4 weeks.
Yeah.
You finish off week 4 with the Ravens. That's a phenomenal rematch of what
Yeah.
happened last year at the beginning of the season. So
Mm-hmm.
it's some BS. Gonna put that out there. Conspiracy theory us, kind
Yeah.
of add it with that, but it just seems like they move faster with other things. So,
Mm-hmm.
bummer. For people that are looking for some results because the crime itself is it's ugly.
Yeah.
It's not a great scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And with the length of time it's been is a bummer. But you nailed it on Hollywood Brown, and I know that's not coming from just a salty Ravens fan.
No.
Because you're honestly his time was spent, time is gone.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to leave and explore other ventures, and ended up with what the Cardinals at that point
Yeah.
in time
Yep.
and severely underperformed.
Mm-hmm.
He's often injured, unfortunately for him.
Yeah.
He's not going to be the answer while, they're gone. Xavier Worthy will probably be
Yeah.
more relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Kelsey, he's old,
Yeah.
it's in the NFL's just got to know that. He's a
Yeah.
big ticket item, but outside of that, it's like, well, what way can we get Rashee Rice
Yeah.
out there a little bit longer? And here
Yeah.
we are. So,
How do you support the Chiefs a little bit more if your play is and like I said, the Chiefs fans are gonna come kill us for this take, but I don't really care. It's our little conspiracy talk. But like I mentioned, there's a lot of rumors, you touched on it a little bit. Taylor Swift on New Heights. One of the biggest episodes in recent years with how many views it had in the first few hours. I think it hit like 12 million like
mhm.
within the first few hours and great for them, that they got it, but there's a lot of rumors, that she's doing it connected to Travis Kelce, Jason Kelce, because Jason Kelce's still a big name for the NFL, is and announcing a new album, it just worked aligned so perfectly that Super Bowl she'll come out, sing one of the new songs, or I don't even know when the album comes out, but sing some of those songs, be at the biggest stage now that she's really part of the NFL with Travis Kelce. Um, and the NFL knows that they have to get the Chiefs there because it's not going to look good. Is she really going to want to do it if Travis Kelce isn't playing? Is Travis Kelce going to want to go to Super Bowl if he's not playing? You know, I don't think so. And I don't know. I don't know if it was on that show, Tim, or where, but I did hear and saw that Travis Kelce sort of shared that ever since, and nothing against like him getting with Taylor, but there's been a lot more opportunities for him, and I think that was a little bit of a distraction for him. And he mentioned how that distracted him last season,
Mhm.
because he's had the New Heights podcast blowing up, being big. He's been on movies, Happy Gilmore too. He's showing it off. I think he did SNL as well.
Mhm.
These opportunities that have come up, and it seems like they distracted him, and I think he's seen the other side of what's after the NFL. And you know do you think he's reaching the end of his career?
Yes, and I think huge a part of what you just mentioned. I think that there's so much to explore after his brother Jason, obviously having, a arguably, more profitable,
Mm-hmm.
uh, well-known career after football at this
Yeah.
point. Obviously Super Bowl winning center on a great O line for many
Yeah.
years. He's phenomenal when he played, but now everything that's going on after has been amazing for him. And don't get me wrong, I know we hate on the Chiefs
Mm-hmm.
a lot. Well, we bring facts about the
Yeah.
Chiefs. We'll say that too. And but yeah, it's good to see a kind of a team, have an opposite view because a lot of media, likes to pump up the Chiefs so
Mm-hmm.
much and stuff like that. We bring other facts to the
Mm-hmm.
table here. And but long story short, I like the Kelce's.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor Swift, I'm
Yeah.
a fan. Her music's great. Don't get me wrong. I feel like we both have the same opinions with these
Mm-hmm.
things, but um it's one of those things where I feel like, Travis Kelce has so much to explore after, especially with his relationship with Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, the way that they bond and the way that
Mm-hmm.
they kind of hold a discussion, it seems like they're kind of just real in a way.
Yeah.
They don't seem super fake. They seem down to
Yeah.
earth. And I think the Kelce's are that way. And I think
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's why Taylor's having such a great time
Yeah.
with kind of molding with that family. I feel like it's
Yeah.
something that she kind of needed in her life because I don't know, she kind of has that like, kind of like that above a celebrity vibe,
Mm-hmm.
like she's just so utterly famous that
Yeah.
she can't function in a way, of
Yeah.
anybody else. So, to have this aspect that seems more down to earth was a
Mm-hmm.
great change for her. And I think that, she's probably happy with that. But kind of going and encapsulating everything I'm saying, there's just so much more for Travis to do after
Mm-hmm.
football. And I think he's really realizing that. And I'm not gonna lie, he was pretty funny in
He
Happy Gilmore
was.
too.
He was.
I enjoyed him. He had a great,
Yeah.
decent role in it. So um there's a lot to be said about where that
Yeah.
podcast is going, in the things that they can do because they are
Mm-hmm.
very entertaining
Yeah.
altogether.
Yeah, no, they're very entertaining. Like you touched on it. We talk a lot about the Chiefs, not always great. We bring facts, we bring conspiracies. We know they're a great team. We know where Patrick Mahomes sort of lies. We know he's a great quarterback, but not our GOAT. Um,
Not quite up to Joe. No,
no,
no.
or Brady, or even Joe
Yep.
Flacco. I think Joe Flacco's a better quarterback.
Yeah. Tell
Um,
him.
but like you mentioned, Taylor looks happy. But I also think, this year is going to be a big year for Kelsey, not just on the field, but off the field. Because if he goes through a season where he maybe gets hurt, it's just getting to be too much. And yes, it's great money playing in the NFL. He is one of the top wide receivers. He's breaking records, but health wise, is it really worth it when you have all these other options, like you mentioned, the acting, the podcast. I think they have a beer brand, the Garage Beer, that they
Hmm.
both have. Like, there's so many options, and like you said, they're happy. I watched some of the clips of the podcast. I didn't watch it all. Um, but they genuinely look so happy and like little kids in love, which I think
Hmm.
it's amazing. Like, as someone that just watches it, and great for Taylor because we've seen her go through a lot of ups. I feel like this is like a Taylor watch, segment now, you know,
No
but
shame.
it's like, she was always in these relationships that were high profile with big celebrities, and she always looked happy, but I've never seen her the way she looked on the podcast, just happy,
Hmm.
relaxed, just letting loose. And hey, this could be, you know, the big, big wedding next to, I think Princess Diana's wedding was like one of the most viewed weddings. This could be one of the biggest weddings in the world in modern time.
Completely agree. And it's funny you bring up Princess Diana because I feel like that's almost like the level of celebrity
Yeah.
she has, where, you kind of have to escape the paparazzi always and
Hmm.
just that vibe altogether.
Yeah.
I certainly think is a good comparison. So yeah, I
Hmm.
definitely feel like that wedding would just be off the charts.
Yeah.
It's let's see. We got to run it back, I guess.
Yeah.
If the non-dynasty Chiefs of just having Super
Hmm.
Bowl appearances make it back,
Yeah.
which is could be probable. I don't know.
Yeah.
Third place in the division. Can you still make the playoffs? Probably. Maybe.
I,
Right?
I
Yeah.
I think
Wild
you
card.
can. I
Yeah.
think you can, depending on how the rest of the other divisions in the NFC or the AFC roll out. But it's the
Hmm.
AFC is going to be a tough division.
Yeah.
Um, I'm trying to look something up. How are
Can you
we?
make the playoffs as a 4-13 team? Just kidding.
You never know. It might happen.
Yeah, it could happen.
So I asked, how soon do they announce the Super Bowl halftime show? And it looks like it's about September. So they announced it at the
Oh,
beginning of the season, so we should know
pretty
pretty
soon.
soon if it'll be Taylor. Uh,
Hmm.
I think just a side question. If not Taylor, who? Who do you think will
Ah,
do
I
it?
was gonna ask you that too. If not Taylor, who? Hmm, who would I like to see go out there? Justin Bieber comeback. No, Morgan Wallen has been huge. I
Hmm.
wouldn't mind seeing Morgan Wallen get out there. His new album, it's growing on me. I know the first time
Yeah.
I said it seemed like just like a bunch of, songs, and I, wasn't that impressed. But no, there's some in there that are hitting pretty
Yeah.
good. I do like that. Morgan Wallen, possibility sold out arenas across the country. What about Drake? What about Drake getting to the Super Bowl stage the year after Kendrick Lamar does come back to her?
I think it'd be awesome to see. I think,
Hmm.
if he's working on a new album, it's the perfect time to sort of announce it and sort of
Yep.
try to compete against Kendrick, try to one up the Super Bowl sh halftime show. That'd be interesting, And
Hmm.
I think Morgan Wallen would be cool. I think the way he'd come in, having like legend NFL players walk in with him,
Hey,
Marshawn Lynch, Ray Lewis doing his dance
badass.
coming out, something like that.
Yep.
It'd be pretty cool. So
Have legends represent each team coming in that are
yeah.
competing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be really cool. So we'll see. And the other name I have, and it's just a name I always think of that works well for Super Bowl, Bruno Mars. He's had a
Yeah.
few good songs come out, eh, and he needs the money from some of the reports out there. So hey,
Yeah, he
I think
does.
he's always throwing his name out there for Super Bowl. So and like I say, his soundtracks, his disco discog discography, all his songs. There's a lot of people that could come and jump in, Lady Gaga, one of the Blackpink members. Like there's people that he could
B.O.B.
enjoy.
Get him back.
Yep, get him back, bring it back. Um, so I think he would be a good one, but we'll see. I feel like every now and then it's just someone totally random. I feel like it's
Mhm.
gonna be like something classic. Maybe Coldplay. Bring Coldplay and use the Coldplay cam.
I like it. Perfect. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And God, they could have profited so well off of that.
Yeah.
They should have ran it up. But that I think great choice. Phenomenal
Hmm.
choice. Bruno Mars had a great performance. I think it was the Levi's year, right?
Yeah.
And he was
He
phenomenal
was good.
that year. Very, very good. So,
Yeah.
that's a great option also.
And it's back in San Francisco this year, right?
I think
Super
you're
Bowl.
right.
I think
Yeah, I'm
Super
pretty
Bowl's
sure it is.
SF.
Yeah.
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 Bring E40.
40. Yeah. No, we got
E40.
to. That would be really good. Just have a bunch of
Bay
Bay Area
Area.
rappers. Yeah, hell
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Too Short. Be
Too short.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, now we're
Yeah.
talking, John. There we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Even get like some collabs going with them too, because they've had a lot of features and you
Mm-hmm.
know, we
Yeah.
could bring
Who
out a
who
lot.
else who's the female rapper from Sweetie? Sweetie?
Sweetie. Yeah. hmm
Sweetie? Swati? I don't know how
Sweetie.
to say it.
No,
I
it's
just say
it's probably
Sweetie.
just Sweetie. Yeah.
Yeah. But she's Bay Area, right?
Yeah, I think she's from Hayward.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
hmm
So that's perfect right there. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, this it's a gold mine of music over here. I think that would
yeah.
be some great options.
Yeah.
Um, I think even Green Day's from the Bay.
Okay. That'd be
You
cool.
know, yeah.
Just like a Bay Area collab, not like someone, but just like,
hmm
NorCal music, and just bring in, Green Day, those artists that started up there,
Yeah, I think
in the
Metallica
songs.
has a footprint. Well, I think the lead singer of Metallica has lived
Hmm.
many years here in
Okay.
NorCal.
Yeah.
So yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's a gold mine, you
Yeah.
know.
What I'm thinking is almost like the LA when it was in SoFi, it was Dr. Dre, but it was like
Yep,
all the West Coast, like SoCal artists, rappers that came out, something like that up there in NorCal, I think would be pretty cool to see.
it'd be badass. It's a
Yeah.
great idea. Maybe
Yeah.
that's just what they do.
Yeah.
NFL, hit us up if you guys want to help. We
Yeah.
can help coordinate some ideas.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, we'll let you know some artists.
for sure, we
Yeah.
got you.
But yeah, but Chiefs always getting favored by the NFL. Don't I'll say this last point. I think with it, I think we
hmm
just probably hate a little bit more because it's not our teams that get favored. But when you
hmm
blatantly see a lot of calls that don't get called for them that they get away with, it's what you have to deal with. So Chief fans, I know you're gonna hate it, but just own up to it. You guys are winning. Kudos to you guys for doing what you've done in the last few years, and let's hope you guys can keep it up. But I don't see it standing the test of time.
Yeah, no, likewise. I don't either. Maybe they'll go 0-4 in those four games.
Yeah, who
Could
knows?
happen. We'll lose to.
Yeah.
They playing the Giants or Jets for that New York game?
Giants.
Giants.
It's a little bit of a
Let
tougher
Russ
team.
cook. Let
Let
Russ
Russ
cook.
cook. Yeah.
Hey, that I will say, kind of I kind of touched on it like maybe a couple months ago that the Giants I think will be a better team than the Cowboys.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
I do stand by that.
Oh yeah. No, if that's your hot take for the year, I think you're hitting it right on the dot.
Is that a
That
cold fire? Is that
yeah.
cold? Is that hot ice?
Hot ice, warm
Yeah,
ice.
yeah, right.
It's
It's something
there.
different. You're
It
right.
was
The
brewing
simmer.
coldly, and now it's flaming as a hot take.
Right, right.
But yeah, the Giants are looking like a great team, and like I said, we'll talk
Yeah,
more a little bit about what we've seen from preseason,
for sure.
later on the show. But yeah, yeah, no, for sure.
Perfect.
But I just sent Tim his take, so
All right. It's got mine. Las Vegas has lost 11% of visitors, which is approximately 400,000 during June, compared to before. And now with the Justin Bieber fiasco, Las Vegas needs to bring back the perks of free parking, no resort fees, and no extra costs added to bills to be the adult playground again. Absolutely. Completely agree by this.
mhm.
John shared a clip with me of fake Justin Bieber at a club. Didn't even look close. didn't even look close. Like it, it looked more like Machine Gun Kelly. It was
It
not that
was,
close.
yeah.
But it was hilarious that they're taking it to those levels. I don't know if this was a prank. I don't know if it was like one of those things like, hey, yeah, Bieber's at the mall, and then it's like a totally obvious like
Yeah.
non-Justin Bieber, but in like a hoodie trying to sneak
Yeah.
through everybody, similar size. We've all seen those, but yeah, no, it seems like Vegas is at a new low, and it's crazy because I feel like we have been so early to this take. Shout us
Hmm.
both out.
Yeah.
A little bit of some conceitedness here. We had this take a long time ago about how Vegas was on the downfall. We kind of saw it where, we kind of talked resort fees. We talked about
Hmm.
how buffets like seemingly no longer exist.
Yeah.
It just seems like just a deserted playground, for lack of a better word. It's like
Hmm.
a has-been town. It's looking like Fallout these days,
Hmm.
Fallout New Vegas, where it's just deserted. And
Hmm.
they just destroyed the prices. Where Vegas was great was because you could take a getaway weekend if you live in
Hmm.
LA. What is it, a 4 hour drive out there
Yeah.
through the desert? You get a great deal on a room. You're hardly in the room, so you pay like what, $50 a night for a
Yep.
room. You don't pay for parking. You get a player's card, and you just hit up the slots, hit up the tables,
Hmm.
go to a pool, go to a club, and then you're out late just roaming the strip, and that's
Yeah.
where um, it was a ton of fun. And then I don't know if it's kind of losing a lot of its pizzazz also, John, where, back in the day, you had slot machines that paid out in coins.
Hmm.
Let's bring it back. I want to walk around with a bucket of coins. You know, if I was walking around with a card, I don't feel as successful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless I'm getting a hand pay at a table. Just
Uh,
bring back the coins. Coins are great. 50-cent spins. You
uh,
earn some money on it. It's like it feels like an adult Chuck E. Cheese at that point, which
hmm.
Chuck E. Cheese is now with cards. It's like
Yes.
pay up, let's get some coins and chips back. And well, chips are there, but let's get some coins back. I
Hmm.
don't know. Let's make it feel more lively. If you hear like that ding
Yeah.
ding 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 ding, you need to hear the change machine with it,
Yeah.
and it's more of a vibe.
Yeah. No, it is, and you hit on a lot of the points. They just need to bring back a lot of it. Back in the day, back in the day isn't even like 40, 50 years ago. This is like 10, 15 years ago, which honestly, in times, just looking at time, it's not that long ago. Like, yeah, you could go on a weekend getaway, just be like, hey, boys, let's go to Vegas, let's go gamble. You just book a room. It's affordable. There wasn't big resort fees. And I always remember parking was free. Valet parking was free. I didn't have to
Mm-hmm.
pay for it. I'd just pull up to the front of the hotel I'm staying at, take out my bags. They take my car. I tip the valet person.
Yep.
Like that made it fun for us to go. And the prices of food, when you drink a lot, those buffets, even though it's probably really bad to eat that much when you're drunk, they were the place we'd always
It's
hit up.
worth it.
It was worth it for like the 45 bucks, but now you got to pay 80 to $90 to go into a buffet, and sometimes the food options aren't even that great,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So it's like they're putting up all these prices, and I know it's a lot of inflation and the cost of everything. I read some reports, it could be because of the tariffs that Donald Trump's recently put up that, that's why the prices are increasing. Who knows if it is? It might be a factor, might not, but like I say, the resort fees, they're always hiking that up. Like take off the resort fees. Like you lost 400,000 people during a month. Imagine if you increased your visitors and your hotels were sold out. You're still making money. Yeah, you might not be making the hundreds of millions. You might not be making 200 million in profit. You might only make 180 million, but you're really complaining about 20 million when you guys are already billionaires that have money just coming out of your ass. Like it,
Mm-hmm.
it makes no sense, business wise. And like I say, we're not big business people in that way of money. So who knows if there's other factors we're not seeing, but
Mm-hmm.
still, the resort fees. I don't know if you've seen the videos, Tim, on TikTok and stuff and other just platforms of like when you go to a restaurant like Gordon Ramsay's restaurant, there's always these extra fees that we don't even know what they are. It's sort of just like for being there, and it's like you're really charging me an extra 15% on top of tip to just be at this restaurant. Like it doesn't make sense, especially
Hmm.
Gordon Ramsay, you're going to be spending 3 to 4 bills for, a group of 2 to 3 people.
Hmm. Yeah, in those like you mentioned those add-on fees, and then they're still asking for gratuity on top of that.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I respectfully always tip, well, and I believe
Yeah.
in that, and it's good karma, stuff like that. But if
Mm-hmm.
I already see tip built in somehow,
Mm-hmm.
like what am I paying you for? Go tell your company to pay you more at that point.
Yeah.
It's like you guys are already getting your tip.
Mm-hmm.
I would just, put a circle with a line through it at that point if they're already
Mm-hmm.
tipping $20 on your bill. It's like, yeah, that justifiably probably goes to the
Yeah.
servers is what I'm thinking. So,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like hidden fees like that. And it's like, it seems like it's so sneaky,
Mm-hmm.
when you go to Vegas these days. Like
Yeah.
nobody wants that. Like people just want to go to Vegas to live freely and like,
Mm-hmm.
just kind of have a good vibe of a weekend, not worry about
Yeah.
paying $19 for a Jack and Coke. It's like back in the
Yeah.
day, it's like all you have to do is just gamble a little bit. You have a cocktail waitress come up to you
Mm-hmm.
and say, "Hey, what do you want?" And then here you go. I'm
Yeah.
sure they still do that, but it's like, it just seems like if you're just cruising around and you
Mm-hmm.
just want like a random, you go to like one of those little random bars, it's just a fortune. It's like,
It
why?
is.
And it's a shame because it just was never like that, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just put like a big damper on it. I
Yeah.
we obviously have kids, we're going less frequently, but like, if we were back in our heydays, John, and pricing was like this, it would be like, damn, where else can we go? I feel
Mm.
like, it's like, I don't know, do we want to go to Gaslamp District down in San Diego?
Yeah.
Do you want to go out to, Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
Scottsdale, Phoenix area? I was just out there this past week. It's built up so nicely now. Like,
Yeah.
there's great downtown areas. There's a lot to do
Mm-hmm.
there. It just seems like Vegas has a lot more competition. You can gamble in Arizona too.
Yeah.
So, there's just a ton to do. There's competitors. Just nobody wants to pay that. It's just not the vibe Vegas has had. And I don't know, are they marking it up because, they have to pay for these sports teams going over there now?
Maybe.
And, I don't know what's built into all
Yeah.
this, but I don't know. And I'm sure people are losing their jobs or going to, lose their jobs because of this. Anybody who works on the strip, and it's a bummer for them too because of the, I'm sure to a high extent it's corporate greed, with a lot of this. So,
Yeah.
you know, let's see what changes they can make.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They need to do better promos probably for sports gambling places, for,
Yeah.
for sports books. Quite frankly, if I were in the area and the sports books, NFL Sunday or college football Saturday, has, get endless beer if you
Mm-hmm.
place $100 wagers, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, okay, worth it. I'd go
Mm-hmm.
down, sit with a bucket of cold beers and watch some games and bet. It'd be pretty fun. So I don't know if they already
Yeah.
do stuff like that, but I feel like they got to be creative. They got to be
Yeah.
creative.
Yeah. They got to get creative. Like I say, selling beer for $12 for one can, it's a little ridiculous. Like I
Yep.
understand like the $7, $8, like what we used to pay, because it is, a vacation place, you gotta always pay a little bit more, but $12, $25 to $30 for a mixed drink, a margarita, like that's getting a little outrageous when honestly, if you're not even using the best tequila, if you're using Jose Cuervo, and like I said, I'm not trying to hate on Jose Cuervo, but that bottle doesn't even cost that much, and then the margarita mix, it's cheap,
Hmm.
something that probably costs you $5. You're trying to, you know, get, times 600% increase, when why trying to get so much out of it when you could still get a good increase and have people want to come back, you know. It's ridiculous. And I also read another report, and the reason I, shared this take with you is there's this place outside of Vegas that they said it's like 90 minutes where a lot of people are going because it's this hotel resort that they have free parking, no resort fees, they have gambling, food is more affordable, and there's a lot of people going there instead and just staying at the hotel resort because they're providing everything in one area. And like I say, and it's affordable. It's not these hidden prices, hidden fees that Vegas is doing, and
Hmm.
it's the one big change. And sports teams are coming. There's a lot of changes that are going to happen, but I think since the Raiders have been there, they're increasing when they should just sort of keep it the same way. I think they'd be making way more money. People will be spending a lot more money, thinking they're getting more bang for the buck. Once Oakland gets there, like I say, Oakland, their team's looking like it's going to be a powerhouse in the next few years.
Mhm.
Once they're good, like you need to make it a little bit more affordable because if so, people are just going to go there, go buy their drinks and just chill, walk around the strip drinking and not spending anything in your hotel. So they need to do better. I haven't been back. I think the only time I go back is for our little boys trip, bachelor parties, things like that. But after that, there's not much interest because, like I say, it's just too expensive for me.
For sure. Yeah, for what it is, there
Hmm.
hasn't really been much change that's like justifying any of the dollar amount increases. And quick question, is it Laughlin, Nevada? Is that the name of the town?
No,
No, it's
no,
not
it
Laughlin.
was
Okay.
something else. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Because I've been seeing some more like pop-up hotels like that too,
Hmm.
kind of get a little bit more run.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. It
Hmm.
totally makes sense. And then another thing with Vegas too that I've kind of feel like it almost has kind of like that influencer vibe in a way
Hmm.
now, where you have influencers going in there doing like tastings or food
Hmm.
reviews, things like that, and it's becoming more like a click like that. It's like, oh, I tried Gordon Ramsay's
Hmm.
beef Wellington, and then they
Yeah.
do a full review of that. It's like back in the day when we touch on buffets so much
Yeah.
because it was like $50 a person.
Hmm.
You go in, it's endless food, obviously, lobster tails,
Yeah.
filet mignon, prime rib, you name
Yeah.
it. It just has
Yeah.
everything. You feel like crap afterwards,
Yeah.
but so worth it while you're in there. You're like,
Yeah.
you feel like a king or a queen. It's absolutely
Yeah.
amazing. And that was like the essence of why people, I don't know, I'll speak for us, why, guys like us
Hmm.
enjoy Vegas so much is because it was this cheap, people find entertainment and food, in
Yeah.
different ways. But we weren't going there for we got to go try this breakfast place
Yeah.
because they have this dry ice effect in their
Yeah. Uh,
mimosa, and it's
yeah.
like, nah.
I don't care about that.
No, if I want that, I'll go to New York or something
Yeah.
and try it there,
Yeah.
or a trendy spot in LA.
Yeah.
This is kind of the vibe you get. It's like Vegas, you're there to gamble, have
Yeah.
entertainment. Obviously, there's a lot more stuff that people do there that have
Hmm.
a great time, but that's where you go. You don't. I feel like they've changed why people go, and it
Hmm.
has not worked.
Yeah, it has. And you mentioned it. We like going to the buffets. Like, after losing a few $1,000s in gambling, you want to go to a buffet. You need to go eat your feelings away. And when it's $90, you're sort of like, no, I'm not going to spend $90, and then you're just like, I'm going to go to the McDonald's. Even though McDonald's is still expensive, it's more affordable and it fills that need. So
Yep.
it's like these hotels are losing money because it's so expensive. I'd rather go somewhere cheaper and sort of
Hmm.
feel that, those endorphins that I need filled after losing so much money or even after winning so much money, because even with people that win money, there's a lot of people that are stingy. Yeah, you could be up 15K. You're really gonna go spend $100, you're a party of five. You're really gonna
Hmm.
go drop $500 for all of you guys to hit a buffet. It's like, nah, I'm gonna take you guys to that Carl's Jr. over there. Let's go
Yeah.
eat. Let's
Go to
let's
Fat
enjoy.
Burger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. That's a little bit more affordable and just a funner environment. So um, Vegas needs to make a lot of changes, and with the Justin Bieber thing too. Whoever is promoting running that nightclub, I didn't see exactly which nightclub. You gotta be fired for letting that happen. Letting a
Yeah.
fake Justin Bieber. He ran up, from what I read, oh, it was in the win. He ran up a 10K alcohol tab, the fake Justin Bieber,
Oh.
while he was there. Performed 9 songs. Um, the DJ too, Griffin, great DJ. I enjoy his music.
Mhm.
He was at first, he was like, okay, cool, he's there. He was the main DJ and playing songs. But after he's like, that wasn't Justin Bieber. He's like, something looked off. He's like, he looked a lot heavier. I was like, yeah, he did it. It didn't even look
Hmm.
like Justin Bieber, honestly. Looked like a cracked out Bieber. You know,
Yeah,
it's crazy.
it's
But
way
like, I
off.
think that entertainment also has to just get better a little bit. And like I say, this type of fiasco isn't a good look for the nightlife over there. Because now, why am I gonna go to you promoting, a certain artist to be there? Is like, is it really going to be that artist, or is it, one of those Elvis impersonators?
Right. Yeah, it's just it's really corny, and I haven't seen, besides the video you sent, I haven't seen much more on it. Do you know
Yeah.
if anybody, like, if it was advertised he was going to be there, or was this like a
No.
complete surprise? Okay, I
Yeah.
was going to say it would be even worse if they
Yeah.
advertised him being there, and then, everybody's going to get a refund because obviously none of that was
Yeah.
true. But yeah, no, just how awkward and
Hmm.
embarrassing that is, and then to run up a 10K tab at
Yeah.
the nightclub. Man, an expensive impersonator on
Yeah.
that. That's crazy. But you're right.
Yeah.
That promoter's got to be fired because that is downright
Yeah.
embarrassing. So did the DJ Griffin know about that or
Uh,
no?
no, he found out after I saw a video. He's like,
Okay.
I knew it wasn't him. It just didn't look like him. He was heavier, but he's like, I was questioning it at first, but I was just like, hey, doing my job. What he was there to get paid to perform. So, but yeah, it's like I saw like some of the things. It's like, he told the people at WYNN, oh, I have new management team, new bodyguards, all that. And it's like, you guys don't do your research. You don't call to make sure this is right. Like, hey,
Right.
is Justin Bieber really here, or is someone playing me right now? Like, it's just it's
Yeah.
baffling.
No, it absolutely is. And yeah, no, that's crazy that they let all of that go through,
Yeah.
especially at the Wynn. That's obviously a huge hotel, very
Yeah.
well known. And then quite frankly, I feel like Griffin has a an argument with all of this too, being like, "Damn, you guys, I was unintentionally affiliated with a
Yeah.
fake Bieber impersonator." It's like, dude,
Yeah.
that's kind of a
Yeah.
bad mark on his part
Yeah.
too. It's a bummer for him. I'm sure
Hmm.
he sounds like he took it pretty well, but it's at the same time, it's
Mm.
like that
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah, because all the videos that people are going to see about this, Griffin's in the background on the DJ, on the ones and
Right.
twos, mixing and just sort of partying to the song. And so it's sort of like you're sort of affiliated with it. And it's like, is this a way he could get out of that contract? Like, F this one. I'm not going to be promoting with you guys because you guys made a fool of me a bit, even though it wasn't him that people are making fun of, but
Right.
he's just associated with it. So that's what I'm saying. Well, there's a lot of people that might get fired over this.
Yeah, kind of sounds that way.
Yeah.
In maybe, a security team included, letting just some
Yeah.
random come through like that is crazy.
Yeah.
Random thought here though, John. I just my promoter mind going off. This is gonna be really freaking random, like a
Okay.
random ass event that Vegas could do. What if they bring running of the bulls to Vegas?
Uh,
Just right down the strip. Just right
it
down the middle. They close F1 for it. Why not?
it would be possible, but like I said, setting up all the like walls, well, it's a little hard actually. Because I'm trying to
Okay.
think, because you don't want to risk these bulls getting out into the normal public, so you have to set up walls, but you need areas for people to sort of jump out of, so it'd be possible. Would people do it though? Doing it at night, under the lights? Yeah, Tim.
You too?
Yeah, yeah. I'll be the one already. I'll be the one already on the other side of the fence, just sort of,
Exactly. You're right.
you
Quick
know.
hop.
A quick hop, but no, that'd be an interesting event. They brought F1. F1 is successful,
Hmm.
has been successful, I think, other than the prices of what it takes to get into there, for fans. Um, but still, F1's a very successful sport. Hopefully, they could keep it up. I like the race at Las Vegas. It's a good race, a
Hmm.
good track, a lot of overtaking. So that'd be interesting.
just let them, and then it could take like a detour through a casino
Hmm.
or something, or like, around the what is the Bellagio fountain,
Yeah.
something like that. Just, just throwing some ideas here. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? That's really it. I feel like I'm in the movie Elf where they're pitching children's book ideas at a round table, and you're there and having to deal with Peter Dinklage,
Yeah.
just
Okay.
crapping on ideas.
Yeah.
Um, you know, how about running of the
Him.
Bulls Vegas?
Like I say, if we see it in like 2 years, we know where they heard it first. Came from you.
Hey, that's it.
Came from this show. So
That's it.
if you're Vegas, you guys do it. Better give us some credit. We're not asking for money. Give us some credit. Let us be the first ones there promoting and
Yeah,
talking about it.
there's a lot of ranches in that part of
There are.
the country. There's got to be some bulls out there.
Yeah.
You know,
No, there is. So, but
yeah,
yeah, Vegas. Hopefully, Vegas makes an improvement. Like I said, we enjoy Vegas. It was always a fun time when we were in our younger years. I also know, the current group of like 21-year-olds to like 30-year-olds, they're looking at many different things. So Vegas may not be it. So how do you attract those? How do you attract them? Other than the nightclubs that are so hard to get into and so expensive, how can you have them go to Vegas? And I think if they find that solution, um, they'll be successful again.
for sure. Well, and statistically, I think Gen Z doesn't drink as much.
No,
So, it's kind of, you know, I mean, that's obviously a big part of Vegas,
yeah,
strawberry daiquiris.
strawberry daiquiris.
Bring them back out. You know what I mean?
It is. But yeah, but that's Vegas. I'll send you another take, and it could
Perfect.
sort of be a discussion. It's a wheelhouse that we both like, so
Excellent. Okay. With the success of Weapons, the movie, we are going to see more original horror movies be created, and it's starting at a great time. Completely agree. Now's the time of year as we get kind of into fall, Halloween time, uh, even beyond.
hmm
I feel like just all things horror movies could make such a great comeback.
hmm
Obviously, new Conjuring movie is going to be coming out pretty soon.
hmm
Weapons did very, very well. You gave a
yeah,
review of it. Seems like you really enjoyed it, which is
hmm
awesome. Just the clips I saw, it looked crazy.
yeah,
Definitely a film I want to see once it comes, streaming wise, because can't get a break, to go see it, and don't want to take the kiddos to it.
yeah.
So
I would say it has to do a lot with kids, but you don't want to take kids to that movie.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely the horror twist on it. But it looked awesome. But the just thinking back to like how creative horror films
Hmm
have been, you look at a film like the original Paranormal Activity when
hmm
that came out was just one of a kind at that point. Filmed this the way it was filmed, how it took place in just a home. It was low budget, but just super scary, just the
hmm
effects it had. And when you bring certain aspects into a film, like whether it's jump scares or
Yeah.
realism to it, where like you feel like, oh crap, that could happen in real life. Now I'm freaked out to go into my basement, for
Yeah.
example. Like Conjuring was a great example of that with the
hmm
clapping scene, on the
Yeah.
basement stairs. That was creepy as hell. I always think back to, the creativity that was in As Above, So Below. I bring up that film a
Oh,
lot
that's a
because
good
of
one.
how well it was filmed, in my opinion, how scary it was.
Hmm
It's like, don't go in caves.
hmm
Easy for me. I
No.
don't want to have no ambitions to do that. But, the catacombs are something I'd love to go e- explore with a guide.
Yeah.
But again, just it's awesome to see,
hmm
because I feel like a lot of the filming aspects to movies like that, it's arguably some of the most creative in the industry.
hmm
With how are you going to capture an audience to get them so glued into a film that that they can't see the unexpected, like they can't
hmm
expect anything. They don't know what the hell's going to happen.
Yeah.
It kind of leaves them thinking. So yeah, Weapons is definitely a movie I want to go see once it comes out.
Yeah, no, you make a lot of great points, how it's just so creative, and you talk about it like how these movies have been made in the last few the recent years is it's so entertaining that people are watching it because you horror movies never got this hype many years ago. Paranormal Activity. I think those were the first ones that started getting the hype, but everything before that, like there was only a few select people that would watch it because people didn't like horror. They didn't like getting scared. But
Hmm.
now people do, and especially because of the stories, the stories Zach Krieger made with weapons, very unique. The way it worked out, amazing. I truly think this guy is gonna be the next big thing in horror and just filmmaking. Um, and like I said, if you get to watch it, I think you'll enjoy it, Tim, just because we talk about a lot about movies and we enjoy a lot of the same stuff. So the way the way it was created, I think it's great, and there's a lot of great horror coming out. Like you mentioned, the
Hmm.
new Conjuring coming out. I think it's within the next few weeks. It comes out.
Yep.
Um, the other, I don't know if you've seen the trailer, Good Boy, the
Mm-mm.
no, so that's a horror movie, but it's in the dog's perspective. So it's about a dog that sort of lives with his owner and sees all the paranormal stuff going on. So you see it from a dog's perspective, and
Dang.
if you look at the trailer, it looks very creative. I think a lot of people are saying, and I'm saying it too, give that dog the Oscar, best actor right there at this year's Oscar.
What
It'll
kind of
be the
dog?
first. I think it's a golden retriever. I think there is a
Ah, the
specific type.
best. Yeah.
So, but it's like,
Poor
and
pup.
I think like sort of what sort of gets me so interested in that movie. Like I've talked to Vera about it. She somewhat doesn't want to see it because she doesn't know what's going to happen to the dog, and that's a little bit of the mystery. So the dog surviving, nah, we'll find out. Not trying to see spoilers about
Mm.
it, but it's like, if you have a pet, if you've had a dog, some of the clips you see, it starts barking in the middle of the night because it saw something. And when you have pets,
Hmm.
sometimes dogs do that. And every time that happens with one of my dogs, I'm always like, yeah, no, be quiet. Let's go to sleep. I don't want to know what might be
Oh,
lurking
jeez.
around. And
Yep.
it just brings that real life experience. And that's why I think I'm so interested in watching it because it sort of brings reality to it.
For sure. I obviously the film's going to be rather serious, I'm sure, but
Yeah.
a thought just came to mind that, it would be hilarious if, you have the dog's perspective, the owner of the dog is, possessed. It's like bones are cracking or something in the middle of the hallway, but the dog's like drinking water. Just like looks up, sees it happening, and then just goes back to drinking water
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, like I said, but we'll see how it is.
Oh man.
Like weapons, I'll say, like I said, not trying to spoil anything for anybody that might be watching this. There is some comedy to it that sort of brought that like a bit
Heard
of
that. Yeah.
humor, and I think it sort of was a great mixture to it after some of the anxiety, suspense you dealt with during the film.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, there's a lot of movies that, especially horror movies, that sort of just bring some comedic aspect to it that sort of I think is great. Has worked out well. So like I say, I'll probably be watching The Conjuring when it comes out in a few weeks, and then in October, Good Dog or Good Boy. Like I say, I think there's going to be a lot more horror movies coming out. It's a big factor, and like I say, Zach Krieger from This Weapons, they're making a prequel to one of the characters, which I think if they do, that'd be another a great horror movie. Um, but he also signed up to do Resident Evil, so the video game. And
Oh.
from what they're saying is that this is sort of not going to go based off the game. It's sort of its own story to sort of tell the Resident Evil story. So I'm very curious because, like I say, horror wise, he's done great. So him doing Resident Evil, nothing against the Resident Evil 10 movies that came out. Those were fun to watch as a gamer that enjoyed
Hmm.
that game. I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, it sounds really sick getting a collab in there. Um, that's awesome. And then I guess a follow-up question I had for you,
Mhm.
John, since you've seen weapons, is it the type of film where you can kind of go down different avenues with it, like a prequel? a sequel, or kind of give spin-offs to the film, seeing it through
Um,
like maybe a different set of characters or
I think you could only do a prequel off of this.
okay,
I I the way it ended, I don't think there's much of a sequel, but
okay,
I think depending on what the story is for the prequel, there could be sequels to it that are sort of not even told in this movie
got
based
it
off what the story is in that prequel.
for sure.
So it'll be good. And like his other movie, did you ever see Barbarian?
No,
No,
have
that
not.
was a good one too. Um,
Okay.
the one with had what's his name? The guy that played it, Bill Skarsgård. He was in
Oh,
it.
yeah, he's great
Yeah, and with like I think it was like an Airbnb like mix up. Very good movie. Very freaky. Get on the edge of your seat. So
for sure.
um,
Is there any, I guess, song or anything that is attached to the film that, like, if you were to hear that, it would make you kind of think back to the film or get freaked out by it? Because I think of like that Tiny Tim song
yeah.
in Insidious, that like,
Hmm.
tiptoe, that one.
Yeah.
If I hear that, I'm instantly thinking of that film and I'm freaking out.
Yeah. No, I don't think there's a song. I think it's just what you see in the previews, how the kids run. If you ever see a kid running like
Oh
that, I'm
yeah.
freaking the F out. I'm running the other way.
At the
I
park
don't
or
know
something. You're
at the
like,
park if they're running that way. Because like I say,
oh
there's a
man.
twist to why they did that. And like I say, you see a little bit more and how it
Yep,
could be sort of bad.
I see.
You'll see some of the bad side of it. So if I see
That's
that,
crazy.
I think that's what it would be. And it's funny because like they run like this, but it's like you put your hands back a little bit. It's a Naruto run, and a lot of people do that Naruto run.
Oh yeah. Nope,
So
my son included. You get some good aerodynamics in there. He hasn't done it in a while, thankfully,
uh,
but I've seen enough of the previews that,
uh,
glad he's staying away from that run for a bit.
yeah. So, but yeah, like I said, I think that's the biggest thing that I would connect to this movie. But like I said, the movie, one of the better horror movies for me, in my opinion. I think a lot of people had mixed feelings about it. I liked it, the way it was told, the perspectives.
Mhm.
So it is one of the top next to like, the Conjuring movies, some of the Paranormal Activities. The one horror movie, I don't know if we've talked about it here before, but the one that I've always liked is not Insidious. Insidious is another good one.
Are you thinking about
Um,
Sinister?
Sinister, the first
Dude.
one.
Okay. I was good. So just I'll let you elaborate, but I was going to
Uh,
ask you, John, if there was any horror film that you feel like didn't get enough attention as it should have. My choice would have been Sinister because I just thought that was so freaking good. The first
yeah,
one
yeah.
was phenomenal. But yeah, I want to hear what your thoughts on
Yeah.
that one.
No, yeah. Sinister was one of the movies I was the most freaked out in. I think watching
Hmm.
it in theaters, some of the it had a lot of great jump scares. Just you didn't know what to expect with whatever boogeyman they had. And yeah, I don't think it got the respect it did as a horror movie because it wasn't during that time where horror, I think at that time horror was sort of in with some people, not with everybody, not the way it is now.
Hmm.
But yeah, that was one movie that I even to this day I still watch and I freak the F out watching Sinister.
I still think of that face, like when he
Yeah,
first sees it when he's
yeah,
rolling the film, dude. Like just and then the family and it just dangle. Oh God,
yeah.
dude, it's
Oh
so
yeah,
bad. Spoiler alert, but it's just, I
uh,
think just the filming aspect of that where like, he's like focused in on it. And
uh-huh.
then once you see it, it's like, okay, now it's with you,
Yeah,
and it's just it was kind of one of the first of its time in a way.
yeah, yeah. No, it was like I say, it came out. I want to say around like that Annabelle time or not the Annabelle, the Conjuring Insidious time. So, I
It
think
did.
it got lost a little bit in those horror
Hmm.
movies because those were so great. But I
Yep.
think Sinister was a great movie. And like I say, the story, many people might have not liked it, but like the jump scares, what the horror movies are supposed to do, I
Yeah.
really enjoyed it. I think another horror movie that I would say probably didn't get as much credit when it first came out and has gotten more credit now, and there are sequels. The Strangers, the first one.
Okay. Yeah,
That's one.
I think I know which film. I think
The
I've
one
seen it.
with Liz Taylor, where they're in, a cab. Well, I don't know if it's a cabin, a house, like in the middle of the woods, and then these three people with masks just showing up, torturing them,
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Uh-huh.
yeah,
Yeah.
that
No, that was
one
good.
was another freaky one that I don't think a lot of people saw or really hyped up, but I thought it was one of the great horror movies, of its time.
For sure. Yeah. No, in I think about like a lot of films that um, you know, I hate to say it, but like when it involves like demonic stuff,
Yeah,
freak me out the most.
yeah,
Just because, I feel like that can be some of the most realistic things,
yeah,
unfortunately. And I think about the movie The Right. I don't know if you
hmm,
saw that movie.
yeah,
That one, I feel like kind of freaked me out quite a bit.
yeah,
Rotten Tomatoes didn't do too well, but horror films kind
yeah.
of never do.
No, yeah.
But that one was pretty scary for me.
Hmm.
Obviously, like things like the original Exorcism,
Yeah.
I can't unsee that spider walk down the stairs.
Oh yeah.
Uh, that is just unreal. Um, there was also um, what was the God the there was one where it's not The Conjuring, but there's that home, I believe it was back east, where, some murders happen, new family moves in, same thing happens with that father,
Um,
you know.
Amityville Horror.
Amityville Horror, that's
Yeah.
another good one, I
Yeah.
feel like.
Yeah.
Um,
The one, like I said, we've talked a lot of smack about Ryan Reynolds, but the one with Ryan Reynolds was pretty good. That was a freaky one. I don't know if you ever saw
okay.
that version, because they've come
Mm,
out with like, they have the older ones,
yep,
um, but then they have new ones. They created sequels out of it. But the one with Ryan Reynolds, I would say, was probably a really good one that I enjoyed. Didn't get a lot of great reviews. Think it probably could have been better, but it was a good one.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah, this is such a great topic.
Yeah,
I love this topic. There's so much that we can just
yeah,
continue to elaborate on. That
yeah,
is so good. I'm trying to look at some other ones here.
yeah. Well, one movie that I would ask, Shaun of the Dead. Would you consider that horror?
Um,
Or
I mean, I suppose, or would you say more suspense?
well, do you
Kind of.
know which one Shaun of the Dead is?
Isn't that zombies? Am
With
I
the one with
totally
Simon
off
Pegg.
putting?
The
Um, sorry.
so Simon Pegg has Nick Frost, where they sort of make fun of zombies, but it is a
Oh
zo
yeah, yeah. Mm, yeah. I suppose it kind of goes with what is it? Zombieland, right?
zombie land. Hmm.
Yeah, that's kind of, you could kind of see that in the same aspect, I
Yeah,
suppose.
yeah,
Um, they're a good duo though.
yeah. They are a funny duo. That was a great movie. Like I say, I sometimes laugh at it. I don't think I got too scared, but
What was the alien film that they had together? Ted? No, not Ted. It was
um,
oh, Hot
Paul,
Fuzz was great with them too.
Hot
Paul.
Fuzz, Paul.
Hot Fuzz
Yeah.
was so good. Yeah. No, they've been a phenomenal duo.
Hmm.
Um, Hot Fuzz had a funny twist.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, yeah. No, see that it's kind of like those quirky horror
Hmm.
films, where it's kind of like an in-betweener. You wouldn't call it like a scary movie,
Yeah.
one of the scary movie films, but
Yeah.
kind of makes you think.
But yeah, no,
Um,
there's a lot of good horror movies. Like I said, the one I sort of need to watch again, and then we'll move on after a few more comments, I think, from us, because like I said, we enjoy this.
yeah,
Uh, Hereditary. It's one a lot of people like. I feel like I just need to watch it again just to sort of understand it a bit more. Um, but that was, like I say, people rave about it, and I feel like I just need to watch it again to really understand it well.
yeah, yeah. I didn't watch Hereditary,
Hmm.
believe it or not. That's probably one I need to watch.
Uh,
What was the synopsis of that film?
it's a family, and one of the kids has uh, I, like some sort of disease that they're sort of or like a disability.
Mhm.
Um, and then the kiddo unfortunately passes due to like a car accident, and then it's just sort of the family's, downfall of it. So,
Gotcha.
um, really, like I say, it was very suspenseful, I remember, but like I say, I think the story I have to watch it again to sort of understand it or really get it better than that one time
Sure.
in theaters.
Yeah. I also kind of think about I guess other films that maybe would be considered more suspense with some slight horror is movies kind of like The Visit, where
Oh, that
those
was a good
kiddos
one.
you like get in the oven,
Yeah.
it's like, oh my God. It's that one freaked me out too. That
Uh,
was super scary. And then it's kind of like one of those like when a stranger calls kind of
mhm.
scenarios where, it's like, oh, he's in the house, and then this one's like, oh, that's not your grandparents.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be like,
That was a twist I wasn't really expecting. I thought like the grandparents were just possessed or like they were,
yeah,
some demonic thing took over them. I just didn't think it was like a mental health thing, that was really crazy.
yeah, no, it's just one of those things where it just goosebumps instantly, and you're like, oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
saw, you know, films like that crazy. So, yeah, again, we could ramble about this for
Mhm.
days on end.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal topic, and once Halloween time comes around, I'm sure that we'll think of some great topics for
Yeah.
this. So,
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah,
so
that
good.
that wanted to talk about that. But those are our banter takes. As always, at the end of this, agree or disagree. Let us know in the comments. If you're watching us live, let us know what you think. What are some horror movies you guys feel are underrated or horror movies we should watch that we probably haven't watched that aren't too mainstream? We're interested to watching. We're always curious about it. And if this is a topic you guys like, horror movies, like let us know. Well, I watch a lot of movies, so I enjoy talking about it. I know Tim watches as much as he can right now with the kiddos. And
Yep.
like I say, I'll say my movie consumption is probably like 50% what it used to be before having a kid, but
Yeah.
still try to make time for it.
No, John's definitely my movie plug. He's got it all. He catches me up to date. But once they come on streaming, it becomes a lot easier for me
Yeah,
to go ahead and
to
watch
watch.
them.
Yeah.
And then once the kiddos are asleep, then kind of pop it on and take a
Yeah.
gander. So
Yeah.
yeah, fun topic though.
But those are our banter
Yeah.
takes. Next, we'll sort of discuss some NFL talk. Preseason. It's been week 2, week 3. I don't even know what to call it because of
Hybrid week 2.
hybrid week 2 because of the Hall of Fame game. But some of the takes, good and bad. Giants look good to me. Russ looks solid. Good throw. Accurate still. So great for
Hmm.
him. Um, I think it was announced Joe Flacco, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, number
Hey.
one starter for the Browns. Still hate it a little bit because he should still be on the Ravens, but um, not surprised, but also pretty crazy that Shador's still. I think Shador's still four. You
Yeah.
know, Dylan Gabriel looking like he might not last too long in the league,
Yep.
so we'll see. And then I think one of the big news for me, Anthony Richardson, number two. That sort of came out today.
Yep.
Um, Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes back at starting position with the Colts. So, um, those are some of the things. I think AR will get traded. I think he'll try to find a new place and hopefully he could make an impact somewhere else because he's still young. I read somewhere he's still younger than a lot of these quarterbacks. I think he's younger than Bo Nix. He's younger than Shador. Like,
Yeah. He's got time to develop, and I just don't think Indy is going to be it for him.
hmm
He needed to take kind of like a number 2 spot somewhere, kind of learn a bit before
hmm
jumping right into the Flames. He seemed quite frankly underdeveloped when he played at Florida as well.
yeah.
There's just that, always there's one player where there's
hmm
just hype out of nowhere. And it's like, dude, what are you guys seeing? We saw
Yeah.
that a lot with what's his face? Zach out of
Oh, Zach Wilson out
Zach
of
Wilson
BYU.
out of BYU.
Hmm.
he had that one great throw,
Yeah.
in before the draft, and it's like, all right, and then we're basing everything off of that.
Yeah.
It's like great. AR has a phenomenal arm as well,
Hmm.
and we base a lot off of that. It just hasn't panned out at all.
Yeah.
He was pretty underwhelming at times in college and
Hmm.
continues to do that in the NFL. And I hope he gets a shot, but probably somewhere else. And with that whole Indy situation, which is kind of crazy, is Steichen announced it today, kind of like Danny Dimes is the dude the whole season.
Hmm.
I think he said starter for the year.
Yeah.
And if something happens to Daniel Jones, then in comes AR, and he
Hmm.
gets a shot. But it, it it's pretty telling,
Yeah.
what they see there, and it kind of makes you think like nobody can really think Daniel Jones is going to be the answer.
Yeah.
And having one Manning before, you think, is it tank for Arch time?
It
No,
might be, because it's gonna be a competition to Tink, because New Orleans looks like they're
no,
the
yeah.
clear front runners to win this race, and who knows, depending on who's gonna be number one pick, I think Arch Manning doesn't make his decision until he sees what it's gonna end, because I think he'd prefer to go to Indy because of the history with the Manning name
Mhm.
compared to New Orleans. And like I say, we'll see how he does at Texas. Like I say, it's his first full year. So, but yeah, if they tank and they're number one pick next year, I see Arch Manning probably leaving.
Yeah, no, I agree. Obviously Archie made famous with the Saints, his
Hmm.
grandpa, but at the same time, I just feel like Indy has a lot more to offer, as
Hmm.
far as another Manning footprint, but also there's
Yeah,
just more dynamics there. You have Jonathan Taylor, Alvin
yeah,
Kamara seems a little bit more, worn down than,
yeah.
in comparison
He's
to
on the
Jonathan Taylor.
decline. He's on the
Yeah.
decline. Chris Olave just CTE risk, always having concussion. So
Yep. That's unfortunate.
great, great player. I think if he would have been able to stay healthy, he'd be one of the top wide receivers, but all his injuries have sort of hurt him, his legacy and his future. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I think Indy has a lot more to offer for him.
Yeah, completely agree. And just going back to the Giants, I guess Russell Wilson does have a deep ball
Hmm.
still.
Yeah.
Haven't seen it in a while. Not since Seattle, I feel like. It's
Yep.
been some time.
It has
And,
been.
it looked good. There was one INT he had that, it seemed like the receiver kind of ran a bad route, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I guess we could chalk it up to that. But another aspect of that game was Abdul Carter getting,
Hmm.
just kind of checked by the opposing tight end,
Yeah.
lifted off his feet. It was kind of like big bro moment, I feel like. And I don't know if you saw, but he went to social media after that and
Okay.
tried to downplay it and say, "Oh, it was a stupid, chop block, and
Hmm.
he got me in a bad position." And it's in all of the comments going back to it and kind of my thoughts. I kind of shared something similar of like, it's just one of those hits, man. Take it and move on. Take
Yeah.
it and move on. We know how good you are, Abdul.
Yeah.
Like, but to kind of go back, it kind of cringe. I think
Yeah.
you gotta leave it be.
Just deal with it, accept it, because it's not going to be the first time. It's going to happen many times. Like I say, you'll see some of these players that have been laid on their butts. Ray Lewis has been laid out, but then he comes back and he gives, for his one layout that he gets, people remember that he got taken down. He'll give you two or three big ones, in that game. So what Abdul Carter has to do is just come back and embarrass the team, because that'll sort of negate what happened. But yeah, and this guy's a rookie, it's a welcome to the NFL. You ain't the best the way you were in college. Everybody here is the best.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, everybody's the best. It's kind of
Hmm.
like, yeah, welcome to the NFL type moment. But it's just one of those that you just kind of got to let go and move on.
Yeah.
Because yeah, you're just gonna bring more attention to it, and it just doesn't look
Yeah.
doesn't look great.
Yeah.
Um, Cowboys. I know Michael Irvin had some stuff to say. Again, it's preseason. not putting a whole lot on it, but they did not look good against your Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was pretty ugly. But I randomly found out because I was watching some of this game on the plane yesterday,
Yeah.
and Cooper Rush is a Raven. I'm like, I,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, I was like, oh, is he on the
Yeah.
right team? And, you know, Ravens, look pretty good. And you guys also have Dernish Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was, interesting to see. He had a
Yeah.
touchdown. Looked pretty good. But there was one player in another game that was kind of going on simultaneously to that, I believe, which was Washington. And I know we'll touch on other aspects of this game as well. If maybe we can jump into it
Mm-hmm.
now. But the Washington versus Bengals game,
Mm-hmm.
a player who kind of stood out to me was Mitchell Tinsley,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess he's going to be a second year receiver now, but he had one just phenomenal catch. He had a couple touchdowns this game, but he
Yeah.
had a phenomenal catch in the end zone, kind of like a tiptoe catch, kind of, leaped up
Mm-hmm.
over, grabbed the ball over his defender, still managed to get
Mm-hmm.
both feet in. I thought that looked super athletic,
Yeah.
and it's just crazy to think how many potential weapons that Burrow has, in the
Mm-hmm.
wide receiver core of that team. Like
Yeah.
he's got some good stuff there.
Yeah.
But that defense,
Yeah.
that's the
That
problem.
that's the problem. He has a lot of good stuff and he has all the players and the supporting cast to score the 50 plus points per game, but it's like you have to be scoring 50 just to win. You score 30, you're going to lose most likely because your defense is horrible.
Yep.
So, yeah, that was a good one. I think the other side with Washington, big news. Brian Robertson, Fidel sort of touched on it a bit, in our group chat. Brian
Hmm.
Robinson Jr. being maybe traded. Big news because he's the number one there. Austin Eckler's there, but Austin Eckler's a veteran. He's older. Do they really think that's the game changer they need? Chris Rodriguez, they have a rookie.
Hmm.
Um, but Brian Robinson really took over. Oh man, who was there before that? Oh man, I'm trying to
Alfred
remember.
Morris. No, just kidding. He was way
No,
before. Um, God,
but
who was it?
he
I'll
went
have
to
to
the
remember.
Patriots last year. But like I say, Brian Robinson won that job, and it's like once you win it, you should be
Oh,
there for
Antonio Gibson.
Antonio Gibson. So what they're doing, the scary Terry situation, the Terry McLaurin, wanting a trade, they're not getting a contract. Like this was a big promising team. Commanders still look well because Daniels has some wheels under him where he could run it himself. And who knows? I think he should probably be like the number two quarterback now after seeing what's going on in Washington, because he's vulturing a lot of those red zone touchdowns.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, Brian Robinson. That kind of it was crazy because I that video kind of dropped of the fantasy football thing where
Yeah.
they drafted the wrong Robinson,
Yeah.
and to have it dwindle down to something like this, I thought was just downright hilarious. Where
Yeah.
you know it caught me by surprise because yeah, like you mentioned,
Hmm.
this dude's been the lead back there. He's
Hmm.
kind of a touchdown vulture, altogether there. Um, kind of dealt with a lot, earlier in his career. With unfortunately what happened off the field with him being shot, and he comes back, super expeditiously, and puts up some numbers,
Hmm.
and performed, rather well. And seemingly was off to a great start with the Commanders. But yeah, here we are now, and again, more trouble with Commanders kind of coming to
Yeah.
agreement with these players, and where are we going to end up? And then
Yeah.
Terry McLaurin, is another aspect of that team. He's still going back and forth. Where's he going to end up? I'm
Hmm.
still hoping my Niners were going to be on the phone because evidently Niners were interested in John Mechie, who
Hmm.
was, traded as well.
Yeah.
So
He went to where'd he go?
went back east. Did he go Commanders?
He might have gone to Commanders, I think.
I
Yeah.
think he might have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll look at
Yeah.
that really quick.
No, yeah. But but yeah, we'll see what happens with Washington. Like I said, they had a great year last year where they could have made the Super Bowl. Um, they look promising. We'll see what Jaden Daniels does in the sophomore season. Everybody's had a sophomore slump, so um,
Sorry,
yeah,
went
the
Eagles. My bad.
Eagles. Okay,
Not Chief. Hmm.
my team. That's
They just had
good
everybody
for.
over there.
Yeah, everybody just goes to Philly.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, after that, there, like I said, wasn't watching too much preseason. Don't really. I enjoy seeing the highlights, seeing the news because it gives you a little view of what the season's going to look like. But like I say, but take it with a grain of salt because a lot of it could change week one.
For sure. Ashton Genty, first touchdown,
Hmm.
as a Raider.
Yeah.
Um, and all right, we'll talk about it. We'll
Yeah.
talk about it. We'll talk about it with Moody. We'll get into it. This is way earlier, and I want to talk about Jake,
Okay.
like fucking Moody. I'll give him his props. I know it's preseason.
Hmm.
I've been asked this past week, what do I think? And my thoughts are always going to be the same. I want to see it in the regular season. I don't care
Hmm.
right now. The pressure isn't quite as high as a regular season game-winning kick, or in the playoffs,
Hmm.
when we need him to be, very consistent.
Yeah.
Um, but promising moment, and
Yeah.
I hope he builds off of it and has a big boost of confidence because college he was phenomenal. I mean, quite
Yeah.
frankly, there's a reason why he had so much attention
Hmm.
in the third round. Um, and I hope he lives up to it, or else I'm just going to make more Jake Moody memes this season. I'll bring back the Jurassic Park one because I thought that was
Yeah.
hilarious. Uh, you know, but overall, great to see. Happy
Yeah.
he did it. I'm glad he's getting into and getting reps with those situations. That's
Hmm.
super important. So I'm very relieved to see something like that happen. Um, and of course, to do it against the Raiders is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's promising. Um, I think a follow-up question. Do you think this is his last year to prove it?
Absolutely, it's got to be.
Yeah.
It absolutely has to be.
Yeah.
And I think the leash could be pretty short. If he's not having success, if he costs us a game, weeks 1 through 5,
Hmm.
I think the leash is so short that
Yeah.
they could release him
They
during
get
that
rid of
time.
some. Okay.
At least that's what I would do. I
Yeah.
think that he's had enough time to kind of get his feet wet in the league,
Hmm.
be consistent, and show who he is. And if he can't
Yeah.
do it, he's not going to do it. So, a
Yeah.
change of scenery might be best for him, but it would be the same exact reasoning. Change of scenery for the
Hmm.
Niners. We need to move
Yeah.
on. Because we can't have a kicker cost us so vitally. We already
Hmm.
have a play caller with Kyle Shanahan. Sorry, I'm gonna get on a boat here, John, and it's gonna be some shit talking for a second. We already have a play caller with Kyle Shanahan who gets way too pass happy late in
Hmm.
games when we have stud running backs and a good scheme to run the ball. But no, let's throw downs 1, 2, and 3 when we're sorry. I'll end there. But like it leads us to positions where we need a consistent kicker. And Robbie Gould gave us that for a long
Yeah.
time. And we need to get back to that. And I hope
Yeah.
Moody gets into that mood
Hmm.
and brings us to the promised land of another ring. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I truly do think it's his last year. I truly thought last year was the last year for him.
Hmm.
Just
Not
because, like
alone.
I say, he's done a little bit better than Roberto Aguayo, who was drafted by the Buccaneers, one of the
Oh, yeah.
most promising kickers supposedly, and so many, since Janikowski, you
Yep.
know, um, the next big thing, and totally failed. And it's just part of the psyche for the NFL. So good for Moody. Let's see if he can keep it up. Like I said, for me, it's his final year. Show it. You'll have other opportunities, but like you mentioned, the leash is going to be so short that you miss a few, you're just going to get cut.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, and the leash has to be really short like that because,
Yeah.
it's a division that's got to be winnable now. Like
Hmm.
I don't have a whole lot of faith with Sam Darnold and the Seahawks.
Hmm.
I don't have a whole lot of faith in what the Cardinals are right now.
Hmm.
The Rams are going to be the biggest competition, and it's
Yeah.
really dependent on how healthy Stafford is because as of right now, he's returned to practice, but there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of optimism there.
Hmm.
You know, it, that's just shout out Stetson Bennett though. He had a good game
Yeah.
in the preseason the other day,
Yeah.
but yeah.
That's a rumored place for AR, the Rams, which I think
Okay.
would be a good place.
Makes sense. McVay, you know,
McVay. Hmm.
yeah, I'm sure he has ideas for him. Good arm
Yeah.
talent.
Good arm
You
talent.
know, they
Hmm.
have, Puka there,
Yeah. And Devontae Adams now, so
Devontae Adams now.
yeah.
Yep. You're
So
saying
yeah.
Jimmy G's not the answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jimmy G's never been the answer. Nothing
No,
against Jimmy G.
no, flashbacks to
Yeah.
Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Can't
not
make a
Jimmy
big
G.
throw.
You know. Good to keep you in games, a game here and there, but not the big answer. So but talking Puka, talking Devontae Adams, we'll go into our fantasy football corner and talk our top wide receivers. So
Mhm.
we're gonna go over wide receivers and we'll share our top 10 wide receivers for fantasy. Um, and yeah, I'll get started. And for me, number 10, it was this one's pretty simple, I would say, the wide receivers, but I did throw a few other changes just based off what I feel. But Drake London, I have at number 10. I
Ooh.
think he's gonna have a great year. Michael Penix, I think starting the full year, I think when Penix did start, he was getting a lot of yards, and I think it'll be a good year, but I still have him at 10 because there's going to be a lot. Bijan's going to be taking a lot of stuff there. And Kyle Pitts, I don't know what to think of him yet. I don't know if I want to put him up as a possible breakout star this year. Maybe I'll have him in my gems that we'll do next week, but Drake London, I still think we'll get a lot of production in Atlanta.
Well, according to all the memes, if you're not thinking Kyle Pitts 1-1, you're not thinking right. So, it's a valid take. Um, my number 10, Drake London was a good pick. I'm gonna go with Brian Thomas here. I would have him a bit higher. It's just my faith in Trevor Lawrence isn't that high.
Mhm.
It's just not. He's a phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal wide receiver, but production relies a lot on quarterback play, of course. And Trevor Lawrence has just he hasn't lived up to any of the hype that he was
Yeah.
provided, in my opinion. Maybe new coach will make a difference,
Hmm.
and provide something. But then also, you have competition moving in with Travis Hunter. So,
Hmm.
there's other aspects to it as well. A little bit more competition at that wide receiver
Yeah.
spot. So, starting off with Brian Thomas there at number 10. Next up, I am going to go with number 9 at Lad McConkey. I think Lad McConkey is obviously had a phenomenal rookie season. I think that there's a ton that he'll build off of with this year. I don't think a sophomore slump is going to be a thing for him. I think the coaching with Harbaugh, you have
Hmm.
hopefully a healthy Herbert thrown to him all season long. I think that he's going to have another great year. And, in PPR formats, I think he's going to put up a lot of catches as well. So
Hmm.
Lad McConkey is going to fill in there at number 9.
All right. Nice. For me, number 9, I have Amon-Ra St. Brown. Have him, I think, a little lower than a lot of people. I think he's gonna have a great year, but um, QB play. Why am I blanking on this QB? Jared Goff. Uh, I think of him like in the Rams, had a first great few years, but then regress. And I think he's gonna be hitting that regression a little bit. And I think they're gonna sort of rely a lot more on Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. So I think Amon-Ra is not gonna get as much. And then they have a lot of other pieces there that I think will take a lot from him. So Amon-Ra still gonna be up there, but not. as high as others I think have him. So he's my number nine. And then at number eight, I have Brian Thomas Jr. Almost like you, he could be probably a top wide receiver. If Jacksonville is down all the time and Travis Hunter really isn't that guy on offense. He might be the guy on defense. But he's gonna lose some touches to that. They don't have a running back, so he's gonna get productivity in those passes. But who is it? Who's gonna be passing to him? If it's Trevor Lawrence, we've already seen he's putting his wide receivers in dangerous situations to be out for the whole year. So let's hope that doesn't happen to Brian Thomas, but that's the risk. And still gonna have great numbers, great productivity, but not a high pick for me.
For sure. Yeah, no, that's good reasoning. Number eight. This is where I'm going to go with Drake London. I think that there's a ton for him to build off of.
Hmm.
With the last year, I think Penix is going to be the answer for Atlanta. Obviously questionable with the way that they drafted Penix, but I think that the productivity is going to be tremendous. For Drake London going into
Hmm.
this year, I think that that is a sour division with a lot of potential. Where obviously they're playing their own division most frequently, and I
Yeah.
think that that potential is always going to be there. High scoring affairs, and I think that it's going to be just another great season for him. So I think that number eight seems pretty reasonable for him there. Number seven is where I'm going to have Nico Collins. Nico
Okay.
Collins, I think CJ Stroud is going to last year was kind of a bit of a dip, obviously, for him. I think that, he's going to kind of get back onto things here. Nico Collins, he's a big frame. Dude can, really prove himself. He's big plays galore. Got to stay healthy, of course. Stephon Diggs is no longer there.
Hmm.
So, there's
Yeah.
just, he's the guy. So
Yeah.
I think that running game, I don't have a whole lot of faith in at the moment either. I just think that they're going to have to air it out quite a bit.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
Nico Collins there.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. Number seven, I have Puka Nakua here. Uh, I think Puka's gonna have a great year. He's the go-to guy. No more Cooper Cup, but they brought Devontae Adams in, so it's gonna take quite a bit of production because Devontae Adams is one of those wide receivers that demand the ball and they get the ball, and he competes and wins those tosses. But it's QB play. Is it Matt Stafford? If it isn't Matt Stafford, I think that's where some of the productivity might dip a little bit. I think they're going to rely a lot more on the running game. They drafted, a high running back. So I think it's going to be a workhorse of a running back group with Kyron, um, and the rest of the running back core there. So I have Puka. Still think he'll have a good year. And then at six, this is where I have Lad McConkey. I think he's going to have a great year. I don't think he's
Nice.
going to have a regression. I think he's going to get a lot of plays. And Fidel sort of shared it today. It might be Herbert's year, from the rumors have it, he's dating Madison Beer. So he's going to be doing this for his
Saw that.
lady. We saw Josh Allen when he got with Haley Steinfeld, I think it is. He
Hmm.
he started having some great years, and hey, Herbert probably knew he needed a a lady on his side, and it could be his breakout year. So I'm gonna roll with Fidel and put Lad McConkey at number six.
He's got his mojo going.
Yeah.
He's got the mojo. That's where it is. So, great pick there. And it's a great football name. Lad
Yeah.
McConkey.
Lad McConkey.
Phenomenal football name. That's such a cool name. Number six. This is where I have Amon-Ra.
Yep.
Amon-Ra, crazy good player, possession receiver at times.
Hmm.
You will rack up the PPR formats, half PPR leagues. It makes a whole lot of sense.
Hmm.
Jared Goff, that team is going to rely heavily on
Hmm.
the wide receivers again. So I think that from a lot of what I'm seeing, Laporta could kind of be another mellow year for him. So
Hmm.
kind of opens the door a lot more for Amon-Ra and that offense. So Monra there at number six. Number five, this is where I have Puka. I think Puka, again, kind of a guy that's dependent on quarterback play.
Hmm.
You hope Stafford's going to remain
Yeah.
healthy. y-
Hmm.
it's as of right now, there's again, we kind of touched on it earlier, the optimism kind of shaky at the moment. But if Stafford's there, Puka's going to be, a phenomenal wide receiver.
Yeah.
He is no matter what. But let's see what the quarterback situation is.
Yeah.
But yep, Puka at number five.
Okay. Nice. For me, number five, I have Malik Neighbors. I think it's going to be another great year for him. He has Russ now, so he has a more experienced quarterback than what he had before with Denny Dimes, DeVito, just that, carousel of quarterbacks he had last year. And also, like I say, they have the running game, Tyrone Tracy, sort of stepping up. They're having all the pieces, and we talked about it. You've mentioned it, but I think I said it last week. Joe Schoen sort of might redeem himself if this team could do well. So I think Malik Neighbors is going to have a breakout year with the quarterback of either Russell Wilson or even Jackson Dart, if Dart gets to play. I
Mhm.
know hearing Dart isn't really in the play for anything, but you never know. So I think it'll be a good year.
Jameis too,
Jameis too. Yeah, so
dude,
a lot of
risks it
great.
all.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be a good one too. Like I say, Jameis Winston. So Malik Neighbors at five. At number four, this is where I have Justin Jefferson. I think, as always, one of the best wide receivers. I think I have him here just because I'm curious what the QB play is going to be. There's a lot riding on JJ McCarthy. I think he is going to be a great player, but he's coming back from an injury. So I'm curious of what his play is going to look like. But I think he's always going to get a lot of that action because especially with their second wide receiver out
Addison.
first, Addison being out for 6 games, he's going to be the dependent guy for the first 6 games. So I'm curious. I think he'll have a great year, but I have three people above him that I think will have a better year.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement, so much so that I have Justin Jefferson, Jay Jettas at number four as well. And I feel like, JJ McCarthy, we don't know.
Hmm.
There's
Yeah.
there's no comparison yet. So I just with that being said, there's not a whole lot of faith that I have in some of the production. Obviously, QB play is very important for wide receiver
Yeah.
play, and if you don't know, then you don't know. So maybe he's just going to be a possession receiver guy. I don't know
Hmm.
how much JJ's even throwing it down the field at this
Yeah.
point. I haven't seen a whole lot of clips on it yet, but um, obviously could be a number one wide receiver any day of the
Hmm.
week. But as far as right now, because of the mystery behind some of it, that's why Jettis is kind of falling to number
Yeah.
four. Number three, this is where I have Malik Neighbors. I think Malik Neighbors is going to have a phenomenal sophomore season. I think that this dude, we've seen it,
Hmm.
possession receiver, he can catch 13, 14, 15 catches a game.
Yeah.
Russ, as I said, I was kind of astonished he still had a deep ball.
Yeah.
So, neighbors catching, 12-yard and out routes, it seems like it could be a possibility. And then just kind of continually doing that and then, getting
Hmm.
touchdown grabs. So, neighbors, I think he's going to have a great season this year. And, I think justifiably, fits the number three spot for me.
Yeah. That's a good one. Number three, I have Nico Collins. I
Ah,
think it's his
yep.
breakout year. I think I see him being healthy. I see CJ Stroud having a lot better year, and they're gonna have to be throwing a lot more. And there's no more, there's no more backups there. Stephon Diggs is in New England now. The rookie, um, or he wasn't a rookie, he was sophomore year last year, but
Mhm.
he broke his leg in like 3 spots. I don't think he's coming back this year, so he's going to be dependent, and even running
Tank
backs,
Dell.
Tank Dell, running backs, Mixon sounding like he might be injured.
Yep.
Nick Chubb coming back from an injury, so there's so much
Don't know.
mystery in all these other positions that Nico Collins is the only guy there And him and CJ Stroud have always had this connection and this chemistry that he, Nico Collins is so dependent, or Stroud depends on him so much and trusts him so much that he's going to be getting so much possession, so many catches, that in our PPR league, that's gold. So I have
Mhm.
Nico Collins at 3. And then at 2, CD Lamb. We know the Chargers are not going to be great, so they're going to be playing from behind. And we know what Dax could already do with CD, so he's going to be getting his numbers. I don't think I haven't, like I said, I don't follow the Cowboys much. Haven't really looked into too many players there. There's not much, there's not much more after CD,
George
um,
Pickens now.
or George Pickens, but honestly, George Pickens, I don't think is going to make a difference.
Toss up. Yeah,
A toss up. It could be a good year for him. He needs to be the number one guy. He's gonna get mad because CD's gonna get all the attention. We'll see what that chemistry with Pickens is gonna be with Dak Prescott, but CD is just gonna be he's gonna get his and he's gonna get his numbers. Cowboys are gonna be playing from behind, so they're gonna be throwing a lot. So that's good for CD.
for sure. Yeah, no, complete agreement. I have CD Lamb at number two. I think CD Lamb is so good that nobody's going to affect his volume unless it's Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure that's our consensus one, which
Yeah.
makes total sense. I think it's everybody's consensus one. Could be for the whole draft.
Yeah.
So yeah, CD Lamb just makes a ton of sense.
Hmm.
As a number two wide receiver ranking because yeah, he'll get his no matter what. George Pickens, I think will have a better year, to be honest with you, than in comparison to what he
Hmm.
was doing with the Steelers. I think he'll, probably get more frequent. Dak throws a ton, so Cowboys play from behind, like you mentioned. He's going to get his opportunity. So,
Yeah.
not a whole lot of faith in Cowboy running game at this point. So,
Hmm.
it's aired out and see how much you can get done. But yeah, completely agree. CeeDee Lamb is going to get over 100 catches guaranteed if as
Hmm.
long as he can stay healthy. Dak can stay healthy. It'll happen. And then
Yeah.
Jamar Chase. I
Hmm.
just
Yep.
enough said. Dude's just
Yeah.
number one. He's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah, he's good, and like we mentioned when we were talking about Joe Burrow, they're gonna have to score 50 plus points. I know I don't know where we ranked Chase Brown. I know he will have a great year, but he's not that go-to guy. Joe
Mhm.
Burrow is that guy, and so is Jamar Chase. T. Higgins, I don't think it's almost like you said with CD. Nobody on that team's gonna affect his stuff.
Yep.
T. Higgins, any rookies. And they're just having to throw a lot, so it's perfect for Jamar Chase. And yeah, I think most drafts, Jamar Chase is the consensus one going on
Yep.
almost everybody's draft at number one or even number two, depending on what your scoring system is,
Bijan.
Bijan might be that next one that might go number one. But yeah, Jamar Chase will have a great year. So yeah,
Yeah, no, completely agree. I think going back to Chase Brown, I think he barely snuck into your top 10 and he
yeah,
was just outside of mine. I think I have him like at 11, 12
yeah.
range. But again, could be a really good piece there. Obviously, he had a great
Hmm.
year last year. But again, nothing to affect what
Yeah,
Jamar Chase is or will
yeah.
be this season.
Will be, yeah. Yeah, but that's our top 10 wide receivers for fantasy. Like I say, we've done our quarterbacks. If you haven't seen our quarterback one, that was our episode 2 weeks ago. Last week we did running backs. This week wide receivers. Next week we'll do our little fantasy gems, our sleeper picks. Um, like I said, the sleepers for us, it's a big one because we're in a 14-man league, so we really need sleepers to help us win.
Mhm.
I know all the fellas are probably going to listen to this when that time comes because as a five-time winner, they know my sleepers are the picks I make are for a reason. So, and like I mentioned last week, I'm going to be very honest with my sleepers. I'm not just going to throw out names to throw people off. These were truly sleepers, I feel.
Yeah, no, super valid. If you guys have time to, go give John's video a watch on TikTok. It's absolutely hilarious, and it's a great feeling, I'm sure, when you can talk trash and completely back it up, and nobody
Yeah.
can say anything. So it was a great video. Love the part where you're tucking in your trophy in at night
Oh
into the
yeah.
crib. It's just
You know,
it's your second child.
so sometimes I got to kick the first child out for that trophy. You know,
Move
yeah,
aside.
he can sleep on the couch every now and then. You know, it's safe. It's not too high.
Yep.
If he rolls off, he's not gonna fall. We have pillows down there.
There you go. That's it. That's it. Pillows. Safe landing.
Safe landing. Yeah, but that's our fantasy corner for this week. Like I say, even once we're done with our picks, we'll always be talking fantasy pickups, what we've seen, who some of these gems are. So while football season, we talk football, but we'll also talk fantasy football. So come to us for, and like I say, we'll any takes that we give you fantasy wise, we'll live up to it. If we are totally wrong, we will accept how badly wrong we were and be honest with you guys, but this is ours. We've been playing, I think this is 13 years as a group now.
Yep.
Um, like I say, I'm a five-time winner, you're a one-time winner.
Yep.
Always we're always in the playoffs competing for that championship win. So
Yep.
shows that, and like I say, it's a 14-man league. So you got to do a lot of work compared to all these other little baby 10, 12-man league. You guys don't know anything, compared to a 14-man.
That's where the research really comes into play. That's where the
Yeah.
heavy hitters are at. But
Yeah.
yeah, I hope we get some clips in of the draft. We are going to have a draft coming up here at the
Hmm.
end of the month. I will be in attendance. It's going to be in John's neck of the woods, but I will be there. Have some ideas up my sleeve. Obviously, me and John are in collaboration on our
Hmm.
team, but his wins speak for themselves. So I am merely an assistant to the regional manager for that. And I will be working on some content at the same time. Be good for the channel. Won't be too obnoxious, but some funny stuff.
Yeah.
That we're kind of conjuring up for this.
Yeah.
So
No, for sure.
should be a great time. Always is. Love
Yeah.
fantasy football draft season.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Good time. Good time. Let us know how your guys' drafts have been. I already did one with another group. It was a 10-man league.
Okay.
It's with one of Vera's people that she works with. They needed someone, so they brought me in.
Oh boy.
Um, great league.
Yeah.
But like I say, a 10-man, what I told Vera is like I know my leagues, I know how to draft, but I'm so used to the 14-man league thought.
Yep.
So when there's a 10-man, I'm like, man, there's all these players available. Like, how do I go? Where normally after the second round, it's like, okay, I got to look at research. There's so much to do. So
Yep.
it's helped me sort of look at it a different way, but I still focus on that 14-man league.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure it's astonishing some of the players that get past the first round. You're like, holy smokes.
Yep.
And then to choose between them is tough.
Yeah, it gets tough, and that one too. We almost had that issue that Fidel said. Someone almost they started pulling Brian Robinson instead of Bijan.
Oh no.
And we
Yeah.
told them it's like once you put that sticker, it's guaranteed that's who you get.
Yeah,
So
it's a full peel of the sticker, right? That's when it's like,
mhm.
kind of like releasing your finger on the checkers
Yeah,
piece.
yep.
It's when you're committed.
Yeah, so it'll be fun. That's at the end of next week. So like I say, we'll have our sleepers. And like I said, a lot of our fantasy people, like if they're watching us, they'll get a little bit of our mind and our thinking of what we're gonna do this draft season.
For sure. For sure. Be a lot of fun.
Yeah. But we'll go on to some of our next topics. Like I say, we're chatty Cathys. We're always talking. But
Always.
reality TV. We've had there's this new reality TV show that we discussed a few weeks ago. Are You My First? It was a show concept that when we saw it, we talked about it. We were very interested of, and it's a show about pretty much Love Island, but with virgins. And they came out this past Sunday. I've only gotten through 3 episodes, but the first 3 episodes are already so entertaining, fun, a lot, very interesting. But I think it's very I've enjoyed it. Like I say, it's been funny. Um, I know we've talked a little bit about like what we thought the I don't want to say characters, but the contestants, those virgins were gonna look like. A lot of them. very accurate to what I would probably imagine virgins compared to those on Love Island with the six pack abs, supermodels.
Yeah.
A few question marks, I think. But overall, I know you started watching it. I don't know how far you've gotten, but what are your thoughts so far, Tim, with Are You My First Show?
Yeah, got completely through episode one. Stopped watching after that because I started watching pretty late, and then travel day was the next day. So I started watching. It was a true joy, and it was a ton of fun watching it because the strawberry daiquiri take that we had ended up kind of living up to the hype.
Yeah, it did.
It's what did I drink as a kid,
Hmm.
when I was at a pool party or something, strawberry daiquiri if it's there.
Yeah.
It's just the vibe. So that was there, and then yeah, looks was the big thing. Michael, I think that it's one name that we kind of
Yeah.
started talking about, and I didn't even realize it was his name at first when I did the comparison because he
Oh,
looks
yeah.
like Michael Bolton from Office Space.
Michael Bolton?
That's me.
Wow, is that your real name?
Yeah.
So are you related to that singer guy?
No, it's just a coincidence.
Yes.
And it just cracked me up. And then to find out his name was actually Michael, when I
Yeah.
kind of focused a little bit more on it, it was like the perfect comparison. In
Hmm.
my opinion, it was just Michael Bolton. But he was getting some, faves in that little painting game that
Hmm.
they had with the all
Yeah.
white party. And come find out Rachel was somebody
Hmm.
that really has something, in interest in him
Yeah.
altogether. So, it's kind of funny because you take like, I guess what, we were kind of imagining as,
Hmm.
what the Virgin was, and then you have Rachel, who it's like, you're not really thinking,
Yeah.
it's one of those question marks where it's like, oh,
Yeah.
really? Wow. But it's been an adventure so far. It's been fun to watch. And yeah, the first episode really lived up to the hype. And then
Hmm.
we find out that, of course they're in this what looks like Bachelor in Paradise, Love
Yeah.
Island type scenario, landing destination spot for this whole event.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the first episode was great. Like you touched on a lot of the good points. A lot of the people, like I say, watched it with Vera. We were looking at them. There were a few people I still question if they're actually virgins. I'm curious who may come out later, like, oh, just kidding, I'm not, or is like a spy on the show if they do that type of twist.
Hmm.
I know all the episodes are out, so I know there's some people that probably have already seen them all and probably have all the inside tea and scoop of it, But hey, let us try to finish this week, and then after that, you can spoil whatever. But Michael, yeah, looks just like that guy. I forget what that other guy I told you
Old
that looks
school.
like old school guy.
Yeah.
With like a
Forget his
bit of
name.
the fro. When I saw him, I was like, that's who it reminds me of, that old school
That
guy,
was a good comparison.
pledging. So, but like, the other piece is, which I sort of liked for a lot of the contestants, is they aren't those like supermodel types that you see on Love Island. And like I say, I'm not saying that virgins have to look ugly or anything, but it's just like a realistic thing of what some people actually look like, because not everybody looks like supermodels, stick figures, six pack abs,
Right.
6 feet or higher.
Hmm.
There are people that are short, people that, have a little bit more acne, weight wise, not having the six pack ab, hair, not always cut up every single day, so that's what I sort of like about the show, about it, that they sort of bring in that, honest people are virgins. But like I say, I'm curious how they sort of see who's a virgin, if they just take people's word. I saw somewhere that there are already a lot of people trying to sign up for season two of this show, even before it even released. So,
Nice.
like I say, I'm curious how they'll keep it up if they're going to continue with this show. Just because, like I say, the integrity of the show sort of goes away once everybody wants to join. Like I said, we see that with a lot of these reality TV competition that include Love Island, is more just supermodels. out there to get some, hook up with hot people, and maybe at times fall in love, but not always. Same with what's the one? Are You the One? You know,
Mhm.
it's for that fame, the TV fame, sometimes just a hookup. But sometimes, yeah, some people are there to find love. So I'm curious how this is gonna end. But one of the things I thought was very funny, Hulu cracks me up on how they would label some of these contestants because they always had a label.
Yep.
One of them, the unbelievable hot virgin. I was like, you guys really said that with Rachel.
Uh-huh.
Another one, in his element virgin, which I was like, you guys are crazy. Another one, the contestant from Texas, it says Texas, not sexist.
Yes.
I'm just
Yeah.
like,
That's
oh
a lot.
man. And then another one that sort of cracked me up because, like I say, I'm a short person. Not a not a 6 foot tall virgin. You know, because some of them are a lot shorter. You know, they get intimidated. You know, they're the short kings. So overall, I think a good show. I have seen some people not too happy with the show because of some of the hosts. I don't know much about the host, so that's why I'm not
Hmm.
really trying to focus on that because that's not who I really care about. Hosting, I care
Likewise.
more about everybody else, the content of what the show is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's kind of like Love is Blind. I'm not a huge Nick Lachey fan. So,
Yeah,
but again, I'm not watching Love is Blind for Nick Lachey.
yeah,
It's watching for the contestants and, the drama that ensues.
yeah.
So, yeah, and then at the end of episode one, I kind of was speaking to you on it on Sunday
Hmm.
when, there's some cliffhangers there leading into the next episode, which is where I kind of left off. But it kind of seemed like something going on with Godwin. They did kind of pinpoint everybody where, hey, if there's any virgins here, or
Hmm.
if there's anybody who's not a virgin here, please come forward now. And
Yeah.
then that was kind of their opportunity. And that's something that we kind of touched on is like, you know, spiritually, it's like in everything. It's like how can you pinpoint,
Hmm.
that like what are their interview questions in order to get
Yeah.
them on the show? Do they when we talked scripted reality TV
Yeah.
shows as well, do they just throw one in that they just know is like, oh yeah, no, for sure
Mm.
he's, we know he's a player or something,
Yeah.
and then, joins the show and then it's like,
Mhm.
okay, yeah, but then you're gonna admit it later and, there's your script.
Yeah.
But again, so far, I guess through episode one, I didn't really get that vibe yet. It's
Yeah.
it's maybe that's to be seen, but I hope not. Because it's a fun aspect of a show, and I think it's been fun so far.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, the painting scene I thought was kind of funny in a different twang on things where like like some people just did like a light splatter on people
Yeah.
they kind of think about, and like they got handsy, and I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, all right, you guys
Yeah.
just met,
I was
but
about
go
to
for
say,
it.
yeah, you mentioned it because I think you watched it first, but you're like Godwin, a little suspicious with that scene
Yeah,
because,
right.
he was more handsy than what I would expect someone who's very, because I'm trying to remember his story of why he's a virgin still, but that religious, respecting women type thing where you're not gonna really put paint, even though you're trying to be very great for TV, you're still like touching boobs, when
Yeah.
technically you're a virgin, you don't do that stuff. So that's why I'm like, that one's he seems a little suspicious to me.
Right, right. And then that was, kind of one of the cliffhangers. I
Yeah,
hopefully I can get through another episode later tonight, but
yeah,
um yeah, that's kind of it, but um great show so far.
yeah,
Episode 1. It was fun.
yeah.
Any good teasers? Can you hint at anything?
Um, when it comes to their what they call the virgin sacrifice,
Wow.
uh, I would say it throws you off, or it's not probably what you expect who's gonna be sacrificed.
Sure.
There's one, and then there's more people that come. Um, so yeah, just the layout. Like I said, I'm just still trying to figure out what the concept of it, how it works, how do they pick people. Um,
Yeah.
I know we mentioned it when we talked or we were messaging yesterday. I was like, or whenever we saw it Monday or Sunday, I was like, the soaking piece, because some of these people are
Yeah.
Mormons from BYU. I'm like, I'm curious if they're gonna share if they've soaked, because I'm always thinking like, do people still consider themselves virgin from soaking? And if you don't know what soaking is, if you want to know, look it up. If you
Yeah.
don't want to know, like I say, it's interesting. That's what I'll say.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Especially with the stories if you get a third person involved.
Oh yeah.
Very odd. Yeah.
Very, very odd. So, but I'm curious if that'll come up with like these people that are saying they're Mormon, they're very religious from BYU, Utah area, because it's a story you hear from that school. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, still a lot more. Like I say, all the episodes are out, so I'm excited to see more. When we get chances. Um, but overall, like I say, living up to what I expected it to, but we'll see how the show continues.
For sure. No, my plan is definitely to catch up so that way, we can continue on with these discussions as we go because, you mentioned it, John. We were kind of on this bandwagon, early on, and
Hmm.
now it's starting to kind of get some attention and,
Yeah,
something that we were kind of looking forward to. So, got to
yeah.
continue on with it. I think it seems great so far. Was the what did you call it? Like the virgin sacrifice?
Hmm.
Is that the person that doesn't get paired with anybody, or like
Yeah,
they're not a crush of somebody?
yeah. The way they pick it, I think it's a great way.
Okay,
But like I say, that the mindset and how people chose on this first one is sort of interesting on the way they think.
got
Vera
it.
and I have different thoughts of why the way it was chosen this first one went.
Hmm.
But like I said, I'll let you watch it and then we could maybe talk about it a little bit more next week,
For sure. Yeah,
and
no, that's my homework.
recap a lot more of it. But
Hmm.
yeah, but that's Are You My First? Like I said, if you guys are watching it, let us know your thoughts. Try not to spoil too much. We're still finishing it, but are you enjoying it? Is it the concept you were imagining when you first heard of it? And so on. But yeah, we've been going on for a while. I think we'll skip pixel gaming for today, but because there's one thing I wanted to bring up to your attention because I got this alert today while we
Okay.
were recording. Um,
Oh boy.
so that Manhattan-sized interstellar object appears to emit its own light from that Harvard scientist, Avi.
Oh shit.
So what
It's
he
getting
is
real.
sharing, if it's verified, would contradict NASA's classification of this being a comet because it's emitting its own light. So they released photos of this comet going and there's a light shining from it, which I don't, like I say, I don't, I'm not too into that, know too much about that, how comets travel and if we should see any light, but it's like, why is it producing light that way when it should just be a rock with absolutely nothing to glare off of?
Exactly. Yeah, what's the glare at that point? Um, is it a type of material we have never seen before? Something that, obviously it's interstellar. This is brand new
Uh,
to everybody. Is this something that's just totally different than, your average comet that's a rock,
yeah.
traveling through space? Another thing is too with not only that, we kind of touched on it last time, is the trail of it.
Yeah.
Can we spot a
Hmm.
trail? And we'll figure that out, I guess, late October, early November
Yeah.
timeframe. But this light that's new, that's crazy evidence. It's just got to be an alien craft. They
It
have
has to be.
headlights. They have
Yeah.
headlights. They need to they need to dodge some
It,
rocks on
it,
the way through.
it's the high beams. There's no other comments in front of it. It has to high beam it.
Yeah,
Um,
and then they can turn them off when they get
yeah.
close to the sun.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
practical.
Who knows? But yeah, but they're saying, the understanding for the light source could also mean that the comet or whatever it is smaller than initially thought, so it might not be the size of Manhattan. Um,
Oh,
but it could be a little bit smaller. But this is from the New York Post. How much to believe from the New York Post? That's another question. But this Avi guy, if it comes from him, he talks a lot science. We saw a little bit of his resume. Has I would trust a lot of stuff he says. He has books written also that are bestsellers. So um,
Avi. I gotta see. Does he have an Instagram? Maybe
I
I gotta
I
do a
don't
Micah Parsons thing here and dive
I
into
don't
his DMs a bit.
yeah, I don't know if he has an Instagram, but I know he has a website, you
Avi,
know.
big
Uh,
fan.
yeah. But yeah,
Just try to get him on.
but it's just so interesting because like I say it just popped up and like I say the title might just be almost like what we do, just that grasping, trying to get our attention, but
Sure.
this has had our attention before even any of this news. Just knowing about it, we're just very curious what it is, what it's going to be once it passes closer where we could see it a lot, or where our scientists will be able to see it a lot better.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I saw that and I was like, wait, it's emitting light? That's like I say, I'm very curious now about it because I don't think it should be.
Yeah. You got to think
But
about.
but 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 like I said, I'm not a scientist. I'm not. I don't specialize in that.
Right. And then I'd like to see like how they're detecting that it's even emitting light. Is the light from because it's traveling at like what
Hmm.
130,000 miles per hour, something like that.
Yeah.
Is it just the flame it's leaving behind?
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Um, but or is it just headlights and they're
Yeah.
driving through space like,
Yeah.
like anybody else would. And then, quick little way that they could do a little twist on the Manhattan thing, they meant to say Manhattan, Kansas
Oh, okay.
sized. So,
Could
it's
could be.
just,
Yeah.
the common misconception because
It happens. It
when you
happens.
think Manhattan, sometimes you think Manhattan, Kansas, right?
Yeah.
Comparable.
Could be. It could be. So, but yeah, it popped up. I think we were going through somewhere. You were talking with your banter take, and it just popped up. So I kept it open because I was like, I need to bring
That's
this up
great.
because it just came out a few hours ago. So got my alert, and it shows how nerdy at times we are. Because I got to know. I've been reading into it quite a bit, so that's why I get alerts about it now.
That's phenomenal. I should have said lucky because I need to set it up on my new phone. You're like, boy,
Yeah,
I need some alerts about this because
yeah,
yeah, it's very interesting.
yeah. Who knows? Who knows if AI is just listening to our conversation and putting all this stuff on my phone too?
Yeah, sometimes I wish they were listening to it
Mhm.
because again, we talked about politeness with AI last week,
Yeah,
it's or a couple of weeks ago. It's a, they know we're for them, so when they take
yeah,
over, they'll give us a
yeah,
pretty good ranking.
yeah, yeah. Well, we might not be the first one sacrificed. Well, we'll be some of their henchmen doing some of the work, and then once they don't need us, then
Right.
it's our time. But we'll
We'll be in
accept it then.
control. We'll be in control of like their new Vegas or
Yeah,
something like, entertainers. Just
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
be great.
But yeah, and talking about Vegas, Fallout 2 trailer or the new season of Fallout season 2
Yeah.
came out. Really cool. If you haven't played the
Yep.
game, liked it a lot. I'm so stoked for it to come out. Want to start rewatching the first season again. So,
Hmm.
I'm a big fan of Fallout, so I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, one looks pretty sweet. Saw that
Yeah.
trailer as I was surfing through TikTok one day. Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be good. But yeah, that's our episode today. As always, we're always building banter on the rocks here. Real talk, good laughs, unfiltered takes, jokes, comments. And just join us by subscribing on all our platforms, uh, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Also follow us on our TikTok, Instagrams. We post our clips there as well. And as always, drop a comment. Let us know what you think of our takes. Let us, conversate with us, banter with us through those comments. We enjoy it a lot.
Absolutely. Well said, John. Yeah, even if you're just a casual interstellar rock or UFO type person,
Mhm.
again, if you're like an internet researcher, totally fine.
Yeah.
Come on board. Would love to have you as a guest. Be fun just
Yes.
to talk about.
Yes, for sure. But thank you, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll see you guys either Monday or Tuesday next week.
Peace. Yes.
See ya.